everybody, and welcome to Roundtable Live. My name is BaerTaffy, joined by Northernlion, RockLeeSmile, and MathasGames. Hi there.
Hello.
Hi.
We are a podcast about video games hosted by four mid-20s to late 20s dudes that sometimes show up on time. That's the most important
punctual,
part.
professional video game commentators
Welcome
that are
to
always
it.
on time and never sleep through their alarm.
Thank you for joining us. This is our makeup show for yesterday. We normally host this every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/roundtablepodcast. You can also catch the VOD over on youtube.com/BaerTaffy, MathasGames, or RockLeeSmile. You can also catch it on iTunes, SoundCloud, and coming soon to Google Play Music. Fun. Yeah, new platforms. We're moving into the future here.
I'm very passionate about new distribution platforms. Ask me anything.
How
Do you like it?
No comment.
No, I want to know, do you like it?
Next question.
Today's docket is loaded. We got a lot of fun stuff to talk about. One of the big ones is silly as fuck, and it's Sony's attempt to trademark the phrase "Let's Play."
Fuck you, Sony.
That's a weird one. 20 years of Pokemon as well. We got an interesting story there. Origin Access, EA's new monthly subscription platform. A little AGDQ recap, as well as Baer gushing about VR for 25 minutes. And PewDiePie's new YouTube network that was just announced today, which means this was a strategic decision by us to include the most important news story of the week in this show right here. Do you believe me? No? All right.
Baer, when did you get a bass?
That's a Guitar Hero guitar.
That's a Guitar Hero guitar?
Yeah, it's really nice. It's a good-looking
got it.
guitar, man.
You got it hanging on your wall.
Yeah, I gotta display it because I don't have anything else to hang on my wall. This is
Gotta get amiibos, man.
This is the extent of my
Adults-
possessions.
Oh, shit. I'm gonna
Adults
show off.
are going to come into your room, and they're going to see that you have two
Who do
Guitar
you
Hero
think
controls.
I bring over here? I'm here by myself. It's me and my wife.
At
and then
some point, an adult, you need to court the respect of like an accountant or a lawyer or a real estate agent is going to see that.
You have far too high of
can take
expectations
it
for the
down.
quality of my life, man.
And they're going to say, I can't represent you because...
Shovel Knight amiibo. Shut up. This is great.
Now that's pretty good. I like the amiibos.
So you know, they actually designed this so that I can scan it without ever taking it out of the box.
Really?
Yeah, I'm so happy about that. It's the first amiibo that I own that I can use.
Look what I have.
I'm very
I have
excited.
a remote-controlled light that I
Shit,
can control
son.
from my
That's
phone.
pretty sweet. That's the
probably
kind of
cooler than-
future tech shit that
That's
you've got.
If you three had a triple dorm in freshman year of college, Nick would definitely have the cool corner right now.
He'd have a lava
This
lamp
light
too.
responds to my voice if I want it to.
Oh no way!
Hang
All
on.
right. Okay.
Now you got me interested.
Disco mode, disco mode, disco mode. It really works.
If you
Every
have
bit of it
sensitivity to
gives you
flashing
seizures.
lights.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Disco
the
mode.
Thanks for the sub, by the way, Troy
That's what
Salmon.
it's
You're the
called.
first to test our new subscription notification on Twitch, so that's
Yeah,
active
subscription
now.
notification?
Yeah, we're not going to call too much attention to it, but it exists. Let's go ahead and start off with Sony just being a bag of dicks. They're kind of just being a bag of dicks. The United States Patent and Trademark Office rebuffed Sony Computer Entertainment of America's attempt to trademark the phrase "Let's Play." Now, it's not for the reasons that you're hoping for, although maybe those were being held in the back burner just in case things didn't go their way the first time. The reason they were denied the trademark was because there is already a trademark established in 2013 by Let's Play of America, but that's Let's with a Z, so you can understand where the confusion lies. So first of all, am I wrong in interpreting this as just Sony being assholes? Because I'm being pretty blunt about it, and I feel like I'm justified in that.
I mean,
I mean,
they
like-
didn't originate the concept, and they don't really have anything to do with it.
No.
But they
So-
saw buckets of money.
Assholes. Yeah, that's where I land, too, pretty much.
It's a straight shot to buckets of money, and the only way to get there is to be enormous assholes.
I don't
Would you
really
do it?
understand the point of even trying to establish the trademark. Like, I mean, obviously you can go like full on tinfoil hat. They want to copyright match all videos on YouTube, which is fantasy land. But like, presumably they want to use it then in like some form of marketing or something like that. And they're worried that somebody else will take it. I mean, beyond the fact that there's already what, like 10 million videos on the internet that are titled Let's Play, and it's like its own genre spawned into itself. There's also like the Rooster Teeth series Let's Play, I have to imagine Rooster Teeth is incorporated on some kind of legal level that would make it hard to establish that precedent. It just seems unusual. It seems tone deaf, I guess.
It's surprising that it's only coming up now. Like, you got to wonder what spurred it, like you mentioned. Like, there must have been something that made them think, okay, we need this trademark for... It's like you said, I'm pretty sure marketing purposes are the most logical excuse.
Keep talking.
It's a very important doorbell, I guess.
You gotta get his pizza that he ordered.
Oh,
man.
that's right. Yeah, we know that.
Breakfast.
Okay.
Breakfast.
So comparable things to this. I don't know if we've actually had anyone trying to file a trademark for the phrase Let's Play yet. And there's not really anything else that's exactly like it. Although we do know that companies have been sort of out of touch with just the idea of Let's Plays in general. But that's definitely getting better, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, I mean, like
Slowly.
even the PlayStation 4 allows you to stream from it easily, and it has apps for Twitch and YouTube, which are obviously focused on gaming. At least the Twitch one has to be. But like, I don't like. It doesn't strike me as something. It doesn't strike me as like a shot across the bow of content creators. It strikes me more as just like somebody being like, yeah, why not? Let's like, we're gonna move forward with this as like a slogan or something. So let's trademark it. That's part of like the standard process that we do. And I guess nobody was like, hey, what about like the fact that that's stupid? I guess.
Wait, so are you saying that it's a chance that maybe they just completely didn't even consider that YouTube has a thing called Let's Play, and they're just like, yeah, Let's Play, that's a great idea for a slogan. Let's use that.
I think it was maybe, I mean, it's all conjecture, but I think maybe it was like, this would be a good slogan. And then, somewhere between marketing and legal, nobody was, I guess, savvy enough to chime in and be like, this is not going to work. It was really nice that the court just rebuffed it like the same day, even for reasons that are not the reasons we would have expected.
Right. Yeah, it certainly didn't... it didn't stay around long enough for it to be a big dramatic thing that we all had to be hinging on to see whether or not they would actually approve a trademark and thus destroy all of our lives. Then again, the repercussions of this are probably not going to be that serious. I can't imagine they would be just issuing, trademark offenses.
Well,
I don't know the legal
The worst
definition
that
for it.
happens is everyone's network builds a tool that can change the words Let's Play to some other set of words. And then they go through and automate that through everyone's videos, I guess.
Until we get that trademarked, and then we go to the next one, and then Nintendo comes along and trademark that
Well,
one.
because I was going to say, how many freaking people can we give royalties to, right? YouTube's got to take their third. Nintendo's obviously got to take some of it, because why not? Sony might as well have some. Why not give some to Microsoft? Everybody should have some.
We've had the fun conversation about whether or not it's ideal to be a Nintendo YouTuber before, which
I
is
think we've
not.
had that talk.
Yeah. It's not. Yeah, that's about the gist of it. It's every time we think about it, though, it is fun to think, okay, so you take your original number and then you knock off 40%, you knock off 10%, you knock off 25%, and then you just take some money out for shits and giggles.
I can't get in this woods again of like, oh, it's so hard for us. Like, we're fine.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, there's a cataclysmic, apocalyptic thing like Sony trying to trademark Let's Play, and then it fades away, and then it's like, oh, some things are getting content ID matched, and then it mostly sort of fades away. And then there's managed versus affiliate, it fades away. Like, I don't know. I can't play the violin this much. It's like 4 times a year.
This one is mostly just, I think we sort of went off on a tangent on the whole Nintendo thing.
Joking hyperbole is
Yes,
really all it is.
Sony's is not really, they don't have a background of being out of touch, at least to this extent. So that's what's interesting about it is Sony is not the one we're going to raise pitchforks at immediately. Like, imagine if Konami did this, especially now. Like, if Konami tried to file a trademark for Let's Play, they would be torched, metaphorically, on the internet. It's just sort of a goof. It's like when your like 60-year-old uncle starts to talk to you about games, and then that
Takes
whole
you down to his
conversation
naked
derails.
basement?
Yeah, well, that's true too. That
The
was a
naked
weird
puzzle
time.
basement is what it's
Naked
called.
puzzle basement?
Uncle Nick's naked puzzle basement.
My favorite place.
Let's Play of America, though, I need to know more about now, especially because they spell their name with a Z. That gets me hooked. I'm ready to find out.
Let's
Let
play.
us play.
That's a quick Google. The only LETZ play, perhaps. And of
It's
course,
a non-profit organization that encourages people of all ages to play and helps them create playful events in their own community.
that sounds great.
Cool,
I'm glad they
yeah.
own the trademark. Okay.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Uh-huh.
I don't think they're going to sue us.
Let's hope so.
You never know.
pretty
Once you
unlikely.
get hard up
That
in
becomes the
America,
next
what you
big
do
story.
is you just sue people.
What if they wanted to write it the normal way and then freaking big YouTube came across and was like, you can't use these words.
That's what happened, huh? Big YouTube's been controlling everything from the beginning, man.
They're so big.
Yeah, it's gross. Sony is silly.
Agreed.
Nintendo has some good news heading their way, though. First of
What's
all, Pokemon Red came out in Japan.
I like how when you said that, you grabbed your earphones like you're getting fed the lines. You're like,
He had
Pokemon
his
Red
two
news
fingers,
now,
two
yes.
fingers on
20
the
years
ear.
old.
From the past, we've confirmed that Pokemon Red did indeed release in Japan in 1996, which is 20 years ago. That's so old. And now they're celebrating 20 years of Pokemon with the release of a new 3DS that contains Pokemon Red and Blue pre-installed, which might be the worst selling point for a new console I've heard in a long
if you're a
while.
Pokemon fanatic, maybe it's worth it.
A
I saw
game
some
from
people on Twitter
19
like all over. They're like, I can't wait. I want it.
Okay, I'll admit though, having said that, I did as recently as my honeymoon just go through another playthrough of Pokemon Blue.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that was most of my time on the airplane. Also in the room on our cruise for a lot of the time. And one time out on the deck of the boat, and then I started to feel really bad about myself because I realized I was playing Pokemon Blue on the deck of a cruise ship on my honeymoon.
This is a good honeymoon,
You
clearly.
know, life experiences, why not?
I gotta learn sometime.
I have one bitter line to get out before we continue the story, and you know
Please
what
do.
else is old? Fucking Metroid.
Yeah?
Oh yeah, I mean
That's
it is
true.
old.
Anyway, moving on.
No.
No, that is the whole story. I
When-
just wanted to say, come
When
on,
does
Nintendo.
Metroid get the 20-year anniversary edition? What
We got a
year
new
is that?
Metroid, man. It was called Metroid Other M.
No, I'm actually curious. Like, what's the 20-year anniversary of Metroid?
I don't know. Let's look.
Probably like
12.
2006.
So that was a while ago then.
Super Metroid already had its 20-year anniversary, if that's
Okay.
what we care about. So it's older than that. They
Jeez.
just didn't give a shit.
We're coming up on the 20th anniversary of Super Smash Brothers, man.
Wow.
Ow.
What?
That'd be like 98, 99.
Ah! That makes me feel
Oh
so
my
old.
god.
I remember playing the shit out of that.
All right, favorite Pokemon memories. Now that I've shared mine, Mathis,
Okay.
I know you've got some.
Favorite Pokemon memories? Probably waking up when Pokemon like Gold and Silver came out on Christmas and sitting on the couch with my brother and discovering for the first time that there were Pokemon that were time sensitive. Like, so you had to be
Yeah.
playing at night to get a Pokemon that came out at night, and that blew my mind. And just playing with my brother and be able to trade Pokemon back and forth. Like, I luckily had that luxury where I had somebody who, if I got blue, he got red. If I got silver, he got gold. And that made it a lot of fun. I loved it.
I remember those fun days, man. I was a lot less jaded about features. Like
When we were kids.
yeah, he told me about day-night cycles and share cables, and I was like, man, that shit's awesome. And now I see. it as
Meanwhile,
really-
Glitching it.
A bearded 30-year-old man sat blogging into his BBS. Fucking gotta find someone who owns Pokemon Red, give my link cable so I can actually get my Abra evolved. Nintendo trying to, look at this scummy tactic, trying to get them to sell 2 copies of the game to the same person.
Actually, you'd be looking for the Kadabra to evolve, not the Abra, because the Kadabra is the one you need to trade with someone to get the Alakazam.
That's a really good voice like that.
And the
actually.
duplicate glitch, like halfway through the trade, if you yanked the cables, he'd get his and you get to keep yours.
No, yeah, you're
That's
you're
it,
the
stick it to
asshole,
the
though.
man.
Yeah, fuck you, Nintendo!
Fucking up the Pokemon economy.
You do that to somebody in your class, though, so you run away, but then remember that you just have to go sit next to them in math in an hour, so it doesn't really work out. That happened to me. That's, long story.
I had to use the Game Genie to get Missing No. And do
Oh,
do
yeah.
any of you remember the Game Genie?
I do remember the Game
The
Genie,
Game
yeah.
Boy?
Not the Game Boy
Specific. It had, so there's like this box that claps onto the top of the Game Boy, right? And in the back of it, there's a little door that opens up, and inside the door is this tiny little booklet with like 10 million codes inside of it.
I remember it, yeah.
And you flip through it like this. It's so cute. So like, I need the code to get the Missing No. It's totally not in there because all it has is like fucking Tetris.
You need a fucking microscope to single out individual
I kind of
codes.
want to go look through my shelf behind me and find the Game Boy with the Game
That'll
Genie
be our
because I
next
still have it
games
sitting
today.
back there.
Yeah.
Then I'll be gone for 15 minutes. I don't think you care.
Ryan, you got Pokemon memories, right?
Oh yeah, I was like really into Pokemon, but only for like one generation. So I owned Blue, Red, and Yellow, despite being an only child. I have no idea why I bought Red after also getting Blue, but I played through all 3 of them, which were basically the same game, except in yellow, Pikachu follows you around behind you, which is pretty dope. I did a speech in 5th grade on Pokemon.
Yes.
Speech?
All right, how much of it do you remember?
Literally 0. But I'm pretty sure like I brought like a Nintendo Power to school and then just like copied, basically like rephrased the Nintendo Power article on Pokemon and spoke.
Did the teacher check you for plagiarization?
That's not plagiarism as long as you put it in your own words.
All right.
In 5th grade at least.
That's the rule set in 5th grade. Once you get down at junior high, they start to strict it up a little bit.
And then in probably like 6th grade, Pokemon cards started to become a big deal.
Oh.
And like I got a couple packs and my friend got a couple of packs. We didn't really make a deck. We just sort of battled. But he got a Charizard and was super stoked, but I got a Blastoise, so I always beat him.
Nice.
He'd always be like, I sent out Charizard. I'm like, all right, Blastoise. There you go.
Shit.
It was
Hard
like
type,
collecting
bitch.
4th
He's like,
edition
flame
Magic
cannon.
cards.
I'm like,
Yeah.
you're dead.
I remember it was I don't know if it was I think it was a different Christmas. I got Pokemon cards and I opened the holographic Venusaur and I was like
yeah.
pumped.
Yeah.
That same day, I dropped a tin box on it and punctured a hole right through it.
He dropped a tin box on it.
Yeah, yep. I dropped a tin
So-
Charmander box on it.
So scarring you remembered the
No,
type
I
of
remember
metal.
it. And I remember being like ruined for like a week. Like I was gonna get rich off that card.
What happened to your holographic Venusaur, Mathas? Dropped a scandium box on it.
It was so bad.
That's a dope metal reference.
Scandium. That's a good one.
I've got stories and stories actually. now that I'm
Nobody
thinking
asked
about it.
you, Bear.
What? Oh,
You're the host.
Will you ask me? Will you ask me
Bear,
so I can tell
me
about
your
it?
best Pokemon story.
So when I was probably, this is in 3rd grade maybe, I had amassed myself a little collection of the cards, and I got a little holographic pincer. I remember the creature, and I remember the color of the card. It was green. His name was Pincer.
It would be green. He's a
It was-
bug.
That's right. It's true. Insect type.
Pinsir
I wasn't gonna say
brown,
anything, but
you
thank you.
fucking savages.
Pincer was a badass, is what he
Saying
was. He was-
insect
he's-
type is green. God damn it.
Oh, insect
Yeah.
type is green. Okay.
Saying
good.
he's brown is racist. So I brought this card, which had a misprint on it, which was very rare. You got to know that,
Oh.
right? This thing's worth a fortune. So I
yeah.
brought it to this card shop, and this dude is just like this. This guy had no business working in a kid's store, man.
Yo, a
He
card
was-
shop's not a kid's store. We're fighting hard
no,
against that
I'm
stereotype
saying like
there.
this is pre Magic Resurgence card shops, right? So this is in a mall, and he's selling like a fucking. He's got a kiosk of Pokemon shit, right? So next to this dude who looks like a straight up biker thug, he's got. I'm maybe misremembering this, but I'm pretty sure he had a multicolored faux hawk and a tattoo that said Kanye is life. So that was neither here nor
amazing.
there. But
Doesn't make any sense.
yeah, he was
Bear, are you
waiting
going to be
for his
at this
time,
for a
too.
second? Because I'm just going to get
Anyway,
the game genie.
Pincer,
Okay.
I thought was worth a fortune, right? I bring this card up to this dude. He looks at it for 2.5 seconds. I counted. He says $16. But he said it with an attitude, right? He's like $16, and he throws it at me like it's a piece of shit. And I said, and I left.
I thought you were gonna be like, and I said, all right.
No, man.
Now that
I'm not selling my misprint pincer for $16, man.
now that
Who do you think I
holographic
am?
pincer sits in the bottom of a shoebox somewhere, location unknown. Instead
Could
of
have been
being
$16.
to generate some money for that local game store and also spread the love of that card to somebody who could have used it.
And I still have that pincer to this day. I don't know.
A pincer was the
You could have sent it
Pokemon.
off, man.
I
Get
could've.
graded by a professional like
yeah,
card
yeah,
grader.
get that 10 on there.
When I was a kid, I was like,
There it is!
Pokemon
Yes!
would be sweet if it was in real life. And then I thought about Pinsir, who has like big fucking horns and a mouth that is like flat and is sideways, like it's got sideways teeth. And I was like, nah, dog.
Some Pokemon, you don't want to see that shit in the wild, man. That would freak you out.
Fucking like Electabuzz or something. It's just a man in a yellow and black
So these
suit
are
that makes
intelligent.
electricity.
These are intelligent animals that can understand your conversation. You want to enslave them in real
No,
life.
man. Some of them are evil. You know, there's some evil fucking Pokemon, man. Like, imagine finding Mewtwo. Your ass
Yeah, but
is
he was
rats.
genetically created. He was made
So,
by
well,
people.
Technically, everything is genetically created.
Well, he was like created in a lab by people. He was an experiment.
Nick, tell me you still have the booklet.
I do. I'm just cleaning because the case that it was in like degraded and it looked like it had black mold all over it, but it was just little bits of like fabric, I guess.
Oh, good.
But yeah, the the back swings open. You can see it actually through that little door. See that?
Yeah,
That's the
there it
booklet,
is. Mhm.
and that's the little door. And then
Audio only listeners are missing out on just a glorious piece of nostalgia.
I
right
never
now.
had this. This is high.
open it up.
You gotta describe it to them. The size of the item that you're holding in your hands is
It's
the
like-
most important thing.
less than 2 inches long.
Yeah.
Oh god, half of it just fell out.
This is one of a kind. There's
It's-
nothing else like it in the world.
It looks like a child's, like an infant's book that you would put in their crib with them as a decoration.
People were telling me this didn't exist and that there was only Game Shark, and I was like, fuck that. No, here it is. So there's tiny, tiny little text inside.
Can't even
Lord.
focus on it.
There's no better use for the GIF of that. I can't think of his actor, but he's just like,
Oh yeah.
It's got way too many things in it for how big this is, which is not big.
That's
And
the
so you're
best.
supposed to go through this and enter these, 9-digit codes one at a time. Each time you start up the game. if
now I know
wanna
why
use
you
it.
need glasses after all
It's
that
got
time. It's just
Mr.
like staring at it.
It's got Mickey's Dangerous Chase Game, Mr. Chin's Gourmet Paradise Game.
Mr.
All of them say
Chin's?
game at the end. Mercenary Force
Well,
Game.
Just in
Whoa,
case you
whoa, whoa.
forget, right?
Man, did you just take a bite out of the crust first?
No.
Did you take a bite out of the side of that? Okay.
No, that's a standard pizza.
That's
bite.
a disregard.
You got a little
It's
confused.
also
man.
clearly Domino's with a product placement.
Oh yeah,
man.
it's the only thing that delivers at this hour around me.
All right, that's fair.
It's delicious though. Pineapple and feta cheese.
You know, I remember Pokemon was the first thing and the last thing to make me punch a kid in the face.
Okay. Yeah.
Wow. What?
But it was entirely accidental, and I felt really bad afterward.
Remember this?
It's a very simple story. We were sitting
print the
trading
picture?
cards, and I heard him say something that I found offensive, so I feigned a punch, but accidentally actually punched
you
him in the
connected.
face. Yeah. And broke his glasses. So that was
Oh, nice.
that was a
had
great
it coming.
friendship that lasted
Nerd.
that whole year. You know, those are the times that I was glad that I was a military kid, because that just meant, well, okay, I'm going to chalk this up to I never have to see this kid again in a year and a half. And I'm going to
Nice.
live in a whole new place. We're going to start fresh.
I thought you meant
With all new
you
kids.
made him move away.
Oh,
Your
yeah,
dad
that's how
would
I
like
handled it.
intimidate his dad or something.
How many punches have you seen at Friday Night Magic, Ryan?
I haven't
Anybody
seen
knocks
anybody throw a punch, but there was one time there was like a serious argument between two dudes, and over like a blocking mechanic, and the one dude was like, "I will bet you $200 that this is how the blocking mechanic works," and the judge was just like, "Well, according to the rule book, this is not." And then he's like, "You know what? Fine, I concede," and then he just like walked out.
Man. You know, I
So
think there
proud
might
of
have been
this.
some underlying problems there.
May I
don't
just
think
point
the
out
blocking
the
mechanic was
prize for
issue.
coming first in Friday Night Magic is the equivalent of $16 in booster packs. So this guy
Yeah, but you
put
could have pulled a Jace Rinch Prodigy, man.
this guy put almost 20 times the grand prize of the tournament on the line for this one thing.
That's how confident he was.
Just do
Apparently
like
wrong.
20 bucks, man. That's all you need to say. It's better than the first place prize, and you're good to go.
Pokemon's fun. I like it.
I will probably never play another Pokemon game in my life, but as far as like re-releases go, it's been 20 years. You get like a couple anniversaries that are okay to re-release, right?
Yeah.
20th anniversary, absolutely. 10th anniversary, probably fine too.
You're almost exactly describing the appropriate time to go to your high school reunions.
Absolutely true.
Like,
if you
20
go to
years,
like
you
your
gotta
third
go.
year high school reunion, you got to get out of that town.
Well, that might just be like you and a couple other people going to a Denny's, because I'm pretty sure they don't do those anymore.
What, high school reunions?
Yeah, no, not for like 3 years. I'm pretty sure they only give it to you for like 5, 10,
That's
20.
just when you show up at like the homecoming dance, even though you graduated like 3 years ago.
You're still getting asked, man. There's freshmen.
I remember
My
you were
10-year
in,
one just
you were
passed.
in
Did you guys
ninth
go to
grade when
your
I was in
10-year?
12th grade.
Are you guys old enough for your 10-year high school reunion yet?
Almost.
Mine's this year, actually.
No,
is it?
Already, mine was passed already a
Mine
couple
passed.
years ago.
Yeah, mine passed too. Did you go to yours?
No.
Me either.
I don't know anyone anymore from there. They're all fucking doctors and lawyers, and I'm fucking YouTube Let's Playing.
Hey,
and hanging
man,
out on Twitch.
don't
Gives a
phrase it
shit.
like that.
I'm not even kidding. Many of them are lawyers now. It really is a thing.
But you turn that around and you're like, see, I'm the only one there who managed to become a YouTube Let's Player.
Yeah,
They're all fucking
right.
doctors and lawyers wasting their
Fucking-
time.
Easy
Not
street
on the
for them.
PewDiePie network, so I don't think it counts.
My 10-year reunion is hosted at a Dave and Buster's on the night before Black Friday in a mall. I was like, you're all.
That
really
sounds
That's
fun.
real weird.
And I'm like, I am not going to a mall the Thursday before the biggest shopping day at a Dave & Buster's.
It probably wouldn't really impact it, would it? I mean, like, it would maybe make the traffic a little worse.
I don't want to go to the mall. It's Black Friday tomorrow.
Yeah, but still, like, you don't think that people start their sales early now?
Yeah, that's true. They do have, like, the Thursday Blockbuster or Doorbuster deals.
You go to Dave & Buster's, have a couple drinks, and then when you leave, pick up a flat screen.
Shit, I missed out.
You got like you got the fast ticket.
Not Thanksgiving, guys. Oh shit, no, it was that week though.
I
can't remember. It was like Black Friday.
It's called Thanksgiving.
I won't be going to my 10-year reunion because it's like across the country.
It was like
That's
right
fair.
before or right after. It was like right around Black Friday. Why did I think it was the Thursday? That is Thanksgiving.
I feel like 10 years is like not enough, and 20 is too much. Like after 10 years, people are still kind of fluid. They're figuring stuff out. When you're like 36, you're not going to be like, or 38, I guess. You're not going to be like, I want to go back to high school, relive the moments. Hopefully.
Well, the jocks will.
Yeah, the idea is that it's there for the people that need it, I guess, right? It's more of a support system than anything at that point. If you need the 30-year high school reunion, then I think you've got a deeper issue.
30-year, I'd almost be okay with. Because
Really?
then that's like enough distance to be like, your life is set.
You're 48 at this point.
You're 48, and it's like, I don't need to see you ever again. Because what I'm observing at this point tells me everything. If you've already got your shit sorted, you're good, man.
I don't
Live
get
a
what you
good
get
life.
out of it though. Like
If you're
only there to
like a little
brag.
shaky, if you're on shaky ground, then it's just, I don't know. It's like after a movie when they show you like, whoa, Bert was killed later that year. You're like, oh, closure. It's like I can close the book on all those people from my.
You don't
from my high
have to
school.
go to hear about that, though. And I mean, like, you can hear Bert was killed from the grapevine. You don't have to go to the Dave
Find
and
it on
Buster's
Facebook
the night
nowadays.
before the mall opens up for Black Friday to hear about it.
I figure by the time you're 50, you've got the friends you've got, and if any of them are still from your high school era, you'll know who they are and when they're around. So going to the high school is just like you're just bragging.
Yeah, it's
But
like you said, Nick. It's
I don't know. At 50, I think it's more like you have enough distance from your youth to have some perspective on it.
Right, start
When
picking
you go
up
back,
options
it's a
and
little
stuff.
bit of a stand by me kind of moment. If you go back when you're 26, you're still an idiot. 20, 27, 28. I'm 27. I'm still an idiot. I was an idiot when I was 17.
Yeah, but we make a living being idiots now.
That's technically true.
speaking of which, let's get back to the podcast real fast here.
Oh, sorry. Jeez.
I'll take a bite out of my brownie.
I like that one, though. Origin Access, advertised by 5 Bill Nyes, EA's new PC subscription gaming service. It's sort of designed to compete with PlayStation Plus and Xbox Live Gold in a way, but, you know, it's PC exclusive. Also exclusive to EA products, so if you're looking for more of a varied selection, you're probably not going to be getting it from this. Although the
Which,
actual selection of
get-
games itself is pretty varied, though.
If you buy Origin Access and then you go, wait a minute, these are all EA games. That's like,
You fucked up.
sorry, that's on you.
Very true. The early subscribers here, and I'm calling it early because this is sort of the early adopters phase of this whole process, will get access to the Vault, the EA Vault, which contains some decent offerings. They've got the entire Dead Space line in there. I think they've got SimCity, Dragon Age 2. I think Inquisitions is in there as well.
Yeah.
And I think Battlefield. A few pretty awesome titles.
kinda
Get them
Like
now
the-
before they
the
go
main
back
ones,
into the
though.
EA vault. Locked away
It's like
for 10
Disney.
years.
Exactly, yeah. And then the Origin subscriber or the Origin Access subscribers also receive an additional 10% off on all their Origin purchases, and they get access to entire games before they are released. The first one is going to be Unravel, which is a new yarn puzzle platformer that's being released in February.
It's
Is that a
interesting.
new way to spin the beta again, or
Yeah, more or
guess.
less, right? Yeah. So the way that they describe it is that you get access to the full game, and it's a limited trial period. So I'd imagine it's probably something like 48 hours where you can hop on and play a game if it's available on the Vault. And then they take it away after that, and you have the option to buy it, and then your progress carries over with that. So it's not a trial or a demo. It is the full game, but there's just a limited time window for you to play it.
I don't know. Like, it's a cool idea. I like it, but I mean, I don't know if I care about playing the game super early because, you know, whatever. That doesn't bother me too much. Did you hear about the Amazon thing that just kind of got announced, though?
Yeah.
I guess
That's
we're
pretty
going talking about Origin Access.
No,
then.
because we could talk
Go
about
ahead.
They are
the
going
value,
side by side,
The
yeah.
value of EA versus the value of Prime membership now.
Right.
Because Prime members get 20% off the game up via pre-ordering it and 2 weeks after its launch.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, if you're a Prime member and like after the game launches, you read the reviews, you can still get that 20% off any new purchase of a game, which I find far more valuable because I'm assuming you know you're going to get EA games off Amazon if you want. That might hold a little bit more value if you're a Prime member already. Now, granted, Prime membership is expensive comparatively, but if I feel like if you want Prime, you probably already have it, and if you have Prime, why is playing the EA game a little earlier that much more valuable to you? It's interesting.
This is $5 a month, by the way. I think I failed to mention that right at the beginning.
Yeah, I think you said
this is $5 a month
versus Prime, which is $100 for a year.
Yeah, but of course it has a lot more intrinsic value.
Correct.
A lot of
So
value
anyway.
added, and it's not necessarily that you're going to be buying that specifically to get discounts on games.
Right.
You probably add it for the two-day free shipping.
Hearing that news was just like literally no downside, which is the best news. You hear, oh, I get to save more money and I already have this thing. Hooray!
Yeah.
That's a good start to my day.
Yeah, they're good with the value added. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Origin Access is one of those things that doesn't make that much sense for us, but if you were like 14, you'd be like, this is pretty dope. For $5 a month, I get access to Battlefield 4, which I can play forever, basically. And then a couple of games that I'll at least try out and might get a lot of time out of. Like, they have Hardline, SimCity, you can play last year's FIFA. They're never going to put... It's always going to be 1 year behind.
Yeah.
But, like, I feel like it's one of those services where you'd be like, this is really cool if you are on, like, a limited income.
And if you're older than 14 and interested in this, grow up.
It's like EA Access. It's not called Origin Access on Xbox One, obviously, but EA Access on Xbox One is one of those things that I've been interested in, but just haven't done because I'm like, I'd rather just buy like the game I want once than pay $5 a month for everything, I guess. But yeah, I actually agree that it's kind of like renting. It's like a weird rental service. I think it's good. I mean, $60 a year. At least if you did it for like 1 year, you get a great value.
I like the price point especially. I think the price point shows that they understand that they need to compete at a very enticing level, you know? They're not going to be able to get in here with something like $12 a month. They can't compete with who they're trying to compete with an offering like this at $12 a month. They knew that they had to get in really low, and they're actually, you know, they're making a good offering with the Vault too. It's not a lot like EA to do something like this, I feel. They're really sort of starting to turn it around. Yeah. Since the Sims debacle, or not the Sims debacle, but the SimCity debacle, I think especially, they're realizing that, you know, they sort of can't get away with as much as maybe they thought they could for a while there. And now it's getting a little better.
Well, there's always the chance that, well, cynical me, of course, coming up here, but I always feel like when something seems a little too good to be true, especially given their track record, what if this is just the enticement level where they're going to say, look, it's only $5.
Yeah.
Get a few months go by and start raising the price a little bit.
I don't know.
It goes up to 20.
I don't see them raising the price.
They add a little more value. They add a few more games, then the price goes up a lot, and then what happened to this?
I don't see it as that. I see it as... Well, okay, I'm not going to try to say... They're really turning it around, Nick. Come on. Give EA some credit.
Well, you know, I also have to play devil's advocate, right? Otherwise, what's the point?
I would see. I like the idea, like maybe they'll add added value, but I feel like instead of upping the price, they'll start. If this happened, they'd add tiers.
Right.
And you can stay at the base 5 tier if you want, like whatever they add 10. Oh, I see that might be what they.
Well, what do they add to this that makes it more valuable?
$30 a month, you get every season pass for all their games every time they come out.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe.
And that way you can pay two levels ahead for the season pass.
Yeah.
Let me be the one to just say I think this is a good decision, and I'll leave it to EA to make the mistake before I criticize them for it.
Or give them any more ideas as to what to do.
For right now, I'm like, man, for $10, you could play the shit out of Battlefield 4 for like 2 months and beat Dragon Age Inquisition. That's a really good value right there. I kind of feel like it's one of those things you never want to stay subscribed to, because right now you're getting like 30 games or 15 games for $5, but then it's going to add what, like a game every 3 or 4 months? So in a year, this subscription is probably going to look like a lot worse. It's like getting Photoshop or something.
Yeah, yeah.
After a while, you'd much rather have just bought it than be paying $12 a month for it.
They have to keep adding things to the vault to keep subscribers. I think that's the given.
Well, yeah.
But it can't be new games.
Yeah, I guess so. So
or they would go out of business.
So they very clearly then just withheld a few titles to be able to introduce those at a later date. That makes sense. And then the trials thing is going to be the other big selling point. So they've got Unravel first, and I don't know, they don't really do much for their non-Battlefield Dragon Age sports games, you know? Like, they don't get a lot of love. So I'm wondering even if they look at this as a major selling point, or if that's just sort of like a extra thing to them.
I think it's a way to recover. It's not even really recover, but just to kind of exploit their back catalog for money they wouldn't otherwise get.
Yeah.
And exploit obviously is a super loaded word. I don't really mean it like that, but it's, I mean, like the games.
Functionally, it's the right word.
Yeah.
A lot of these games are not going to be making very much money anymore. So better to throw them in and like
Nintendo
make
does
the
it with
subscription
their
look nice.
virtual console. Like every company's doing it in some way.
It's EA's official Humble Bundle for their own work.
More or less, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously though, you got to give them credit for this, because the idea of paying $5 a month, or just doing it once, just pay $5 and then for a month you can play through this War of Mine and Dead Space, and you play a bunch of SimCity. Like, you can get all this done in a month easily, and that's a great value. So kudos to them for that, at least. I mean, that alone is probably reason enough for a few people to subscribe for a month and then cancel.
Yeah.
All right.
That, or you could get 1/3 of a month of World of Warcraft.
Aha.
Shit.
Shouldn't
Sold.
know-
I think
shouldn't
that's
open
more
up
a
that
problem
can of
for
worms.
Blizzard.
I'm just saying, to put it in perspective, it's pretty cheap.
Yeah.
All right. Real quick, want to touch on AGDQ, because it sort of feels obligatory to at least mention it. The fact that they managed to raise over $1 million again for charity is pretty fantastic, so we got to give them kudos for that. If you have no idea what we're talking about, AGDQ is awesome games done quick. It's a yearly event hosted on Twitch. Usually gets a couple 100,000 viewers, so a lot of you probably know what I'm talking about. And this year was no different. Always awesome. A lot of really good runs. What were some of your favorite runs from this year's event? Anyone at all?
Anybody?
Two players, one controller, Super Metroid. That's badass. I've never seen that run.
That seems pretty sweet.
I liked the Half-Life 2 run by Noir. He was really funny. My favorite part is how the announcer that whole time just kept calling him Noir, and I wanted to punch him in the face. I'm like, it's Noir. Come on.
Noir.
But I think Half-Life 2 is the first time I've ever watched Half-Life 2 speedrun, and like the movement of that reminds me of like Tribes. There's a lot of like skiing down slopes and then glitching away to maintain that momentum, and just like ripping through the levels really, really fast. That was really interesting.
Has there been another game like Tribes that fills that void in my heart of being able to just skirt around the map like crazy?
Yo, Shoot Mania was like that.
Yeah?
Shoot Mania is, if I had known you guys more in like 2012 probably, like March of 2012, I'd be like, yo, it sounds stupid as hell, but you guys got to get Shoot Mania and play it with me.
Yeah.
You think Uplay's bad? Go back to Ubisoft Europe's fucking Mania servers, where they had their own platform that was Ubisoft specific for Shoot Mania and Track Mania. It was the dumbest shit of all time.
That sounds terrible.
Shoot Mania was pretty fun though.
Okay.
It's dead.
I remember playing Trackmania. It was one of the earlier games I played, like when I was getting to know you. Trackmania was fun, but that was also
Trackmania is dope, and the new one comes out next month, I think.
Oh shit, that'll be fun. I'm down
Remember
for
that server you had? And now
Yeah.
it never worked.
Yeah, the Trackmania server took forever to get set up, and then we used it like twice. Probably spent like maybe $180 on that.
Oh,
Nice.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was a good return on
that
investment.
expensive.
I got to, I didn't wake up for it. It was like 6 in the morning Pacific, so I wasn't going to dedicate myself that much to it. But I did catch the VOD of the Spelunky run, which went surprisingly
that was so
well.
good.
Yeah,
I watched
really
it live.
It was a good time. Also, right after that, I can't believe I didn't realize they were doing this, but somebody did Spooty Biscuit. I'm gonna remember his name because goddamn, it was impressive. A Coda Necrodancer run, which out of the developers' mouths, it's been said, we don't think Coda is possible to complete, which is crazy. That was like, just after release, and it actually took a while after that for anybody to complete Coda, which is unusual when a developer says something like that. You know, usually, well, it's unusual in the way that you wouldn't think, because usually when a developer says something like that, somebody does it within 12 hours.
T-Rex, yeah.
Yeah.
Usually.
So Coda has been insanely difficult since release, and I'm pretty sure only 10 people have ever beaten Coda. And somebody beat Coda at AGDQ. Spooty Biscuit beat Coda at AGDQ. That is crazy. That is insanely cool. And if you don't know who Coda is, or Necrodancer is a rhythm-based roguelike game, and Coda is a very difficult character to play. He moves at double speed, can't pick up gold, and can only wield the dagger. So just so many limitations, and it's so insane to watch. Like, I seriously highly recommend if you haven't checked it out. Yeah, you really should watch it. It's insanely impressive. And then, other than that, I didn't really catch that much this year. I did watch a little bit of the Super Mario Maker relay race, which was pretty awesome to see. And that made me really excited about the future of like Super Mario Maker at AGDQ in general as well. Super Mario Maker is really stuck around in a really good way. It's pretty great. And
I didn't watch any AGDQ.
Okay, that's fair.
There were people tweeting about the dude playing Beatmania. And
I saw a couple of those, yeah.
Like 6 people tweeted, and they're like, "You got to see this!" And then I clicked on it, and he got up from the chair and left. And I was like,
it's over.
All right. But I saw the GIFs, which are pretty amazing.
Yeah, that was me last year when they started freaking out about the Tetris Grandmaster
yeah.
run. Yeah, mm-hmm.
That was amazing.
That was pretty great.
The Tetris run last year was really crazy.
Did they do that again this year?
There was no Tetris.
No
block
Tetris, man.
It might be at SGDQ. We'll see.
Seems
Hope
like
so.
they mix up the groupings of what they play every year a little bit.
No,
anyway.
I
do a
like
good job
that
keeping
they've.
them heavy.
Yeah, I like that they've switched it up quite a bit. I would not have expected Spelunky. Really, Spelunky and Necrodancer both sort of surprised me to see him on the lineup too. Like, I didn't know they were.
Binding of
willing
Isaac
to-
was on it like either last time or the time before that.
Yeah, it sort of fell into the same category. That surprised me that they were willing to, sort of take a risk. I really think they honestly must have expected that the Coda run may not even get finished. So just, prep yourselves for failure. Yeah, the worst case scenario is, I didn't make it. Sorry, everybody. And then we go on to the next game.
Well, a lot of things like that happened, and there was a lot of things they had to jump to backup saves. And I mean, one of the last ones they did a Super Metroid reverse ball sorter run, which, he died a bunch of times because he's fucking running around in everywhere hot with no Varia suit. And that kills you really fast. That was very impressive. Never seen that run done before.
That was cool.
And I appreciate that it's still possible to do new things with Super Metroid after I've watched and played that for like 20 years.
That was actually the other point I was going to make, is that I love that in a lot of the games that have sort of just become staples of AGDQ and these events, they're finding new things to do every year, which is insane.
Symphony of the Night, too. They also had a different run with that, too.
And I think Kyle, our friend Kyle, actually, Full Grown Gaming, was a part of the run at AGDQ. He did the 4-player co-op Majora's Mask run, and they were talking the entire time about how they're still developing strategies to
5.5 hour run.
Yeah, no kidding.
I was watching that.
shit.
I've watched Kyle run it on Twitch a couple times, and I always think if I was ever going to get into speedrunning a game that takes 5.5 hours is something I would never want to touch with a 10-foot pole.
They don't do that run very often, and I think since they split it up, that was they split it across 4 people because it's so freaking long.
Just
the
do
usual
Gone
run
Home
for
speed runs.
Gone Home, I could finish that in like 3 minutes.
What is it, like 45 seconds or something? Is
it even okay? It might be shorter than 3 minutes.
Without spoiling the game, I'm pretty sure you can get to the ending right at the start
immediately.
Yeah, you can.
Again, don't go looking for it if this is your first time playing the game.
Well, you'll miss the entire game, so honestly, it won't really hurt you that much. You just won't know anything about the game.
Right. Not too bad.
5.5 hours is just ridiculous.
There's,
so long.
I mean, think about it. There's people doing the Final Fantasy VII speed runs, too, that are taking, dozens of hours. Or not dozens, but maybe
It's a long
1 dozen
time.
hours.
Because there was like 4 hours into it, they were doing something in Majora's Mask, and they're like, "Yeah, this can be a run killer." I'm like, "A run killer 4 hours?"
They said that a lot, too, which
like,
was crazy.
Jesus.
Yeah.
wanna die.
Not only is it a 5.5 hour run, but every 5 minutes there's an insanely high-risk thing that requires insane technical skill to complete, and they just, this could destroy the run and add 30 minutes to it, but we'll see what happens. Oh, we did it. Hey, all right, cool. Let's move on.
They have backup saves. I think they run into those same things in a lot of the other categories where they're run killers in that segment as well, and then they just bring that same kind of worriedness over to the new category.
Yeah.
I like this. I like this pseudo analysis as semi-casual speedrunning fans that we got going on here, dude. This is good.
It's great.
Yeah.
I love it. That's like 24 hours, 7 days a week for that 1 week of just background noise. They can always turn on. And you're like, there's always something cool to watch.
Yeah, it was sort of like when Bob
HDQ.
Ross was going, right?
Yeah, that
It's
was
like,
fun.
well, if you got nothing, you always got AGDQ to turn on.
Yep.
Plus, I was watching it in my new Gear VR. Segway! Woo!
Oh shit!
You got a Segway?
No, not
Yeah,
yet.
you got a Gear
I want to see
VR.
you in your Gear VR riding a Segway.
Hold on, I might have it here.
I am becoming a robot.
I should have had it here, man. I should have had the demo.
Figured you
ready.
were gonna put it on. That's
I
what
know,
you're
You were
doing.
so
Yeah.
excited to talk about Gear VR,
All right,
and you didn't even bring the
Wife
prop.
Taffy, if you're listening, please bring the Gear VR upstairs so I can talk about
shout. Hey!
Let it all out. These are the things.
it. So last week we talked about the Oculus Rift, which went on pre-order, is now available for $600.
We were off by a long shot.
Way off. So,
I pre-ordered one.
Yeah,
I
Nick, tell me
pre-ordered
about
two,
this.
actually. I accidentally pre-ordered two. So it was a big mess when the thing went live, of course. I was there 3 hours early, and that didn't save me either because, of course, the store completely crashed and broke the site for about half an hour or so. As that was all getting resolved, I was just spamming trying to get my payment to process through, and it didn't want to take my credit card for whatever reason. Eventually, it went through, and I thought I had one, never got a confirmation email. More time went by, still didn't get a confirmation email, and it's now like an hour past when the thing went live. So I'm thinking, well, if this order didn't take, I'm going to be in like the second or third shipment now, which means I'm going to have to wait a couple extra months. I just decided I'd order another one because I could just cancel the other one. There was no obligation to keep your orders in. I ordered the second one. The second one went through much faster, and I got a confirmation about it. So yay, that was finally done. But it was saying that the shipment wasn't till May, which wasn't super great for me. I wanted a little sooner than that. Later, like 2-3 days later, I get an email saying that I did actually order the first one properly, and both of my confirmation codes went through. So then I finally got in contact with someone from customer support who said that they could help me out and cancel the other one. We finally did that yesterday, and today was the day of me realizing I still don't have an account with them to look up my processing. So I still don't know, like I have the order, but I can't get to the details about it, so I won't know when it ships.
Sounds fun.
It's a clusterfuck.
It's like 3 days between emails too, right?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
Well, $600. Okay, so price point wise, how are we feeling?
So I'm okay with it being 600, but the reason people are up in arms about it, I think this has been discussed ad nauseum over the past few days, is that it's not so much that it's $600, it's the fact that every time they talked about final price point, they said ballpark 350.
Mm-hmm.
So when they were like, it's 600, and everybody's like, that's not what you were telling us. Fuck, that's a lot of money. So I mean, again though, like it is what it is. It's $600. I mean, you need a fucking amazing PC to run it anyway, so it's clearly made for early adopter enthusiasts. Anybody else who thought they were gonna get it, I mean, even at $350, you still needed like a monster PC to make sure it runs smoothly. We'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens. I'm not too mad about it. I don't
Yeah.
care.
Aren't you also
Seems
getting one
reasonable.
free with the DK2 though?
No.
That was
How did you
Kickstarter
get-
backers for the.
Only Kickstarter backers get one.
Oh,
And they get a special one that's like made for them,
Hmm.
which is cool.
Does that have their name on it?
I don't know how I think it's gonna have like it's like a special Kickstarter logo version or something.
It only matters. It's
$600 to me is expensive enough that I will wait and see if anything good comes out for it, and if the price comes down, and how the Vive ends up working out.
Well, we're definitely in the early adopters phase here, right?
Yeah.
Safe to say. So
No question.
this is probably going to be a couple years until we even see a Rift price adjustment. Although I think what could be the thing that immediately forces them to reconsider would be a competing price from the HTC Vive, which I don't expect.
I don't
You
either.
guys?
I think because the reason it's so fucking expensive is because it's brand new technology with a screen that is incredibly high resolution, that's really small and like jammed into this little thing. The motion tracker technology has to be incredible. Like everything has to be great, and it's new, so it's obviously going to be expensive. If HTC wants to have something similar, as far as like quality is concerned, you're going to be looking at a very similar price. I really honestly think you are.
I think it's going to be more expensive, but
Because it's going to come with
like,
the hand motion
way
stuff. Right?
better.
Really?
Yeah. At least like.
Well, we haven't
I mean-
really. Have you put on the consumer version of the Rift yet? It's going to be different than the DK2.
I would be amazed if anything that the Rift did hit the level of immersion that the Vive did.
Really?
But I haven't used the consumer version of the Vive yet either. I've just used like
They're two
the.
different kind of experiences,
kit.
though. I
How
mean,
so?
one is more designed for a room experience, and the other is more designed for you to sit. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I'd
I don't
say
really
the-
have room for a Vive, so Oculus was kind of what I had.
I think. Well, I don't know. Okay, so I haven't used the Vive. I'm a lot more curious about why you just like. It feels like it's an objectively better thing in your perspective.
Better, more immersive would probably be the way that I would describe it.
So it's just better at doing VR.
If the point of VR is immersion,
Yes.
then that would follow logically, I guess.
Okay, gotcha. That's interesting. So, and then the other point of that being, the Oculus can't really have changed that much between like the DK2 and the consumer version, right?
The resolution is going to
Much
be
higher
much
resolution.
better.
Okay, so that would be a big selling point too. Then maybe is the resolution perhaps like the center issue then?
No,
The-
probably the fact that when you put it on, you have like motion tracking controllers that you can move around the room with.
Okay, well yeah, that would do it.
Those are coming with the Oculus, but those are going to be separate later. Like they're in development right now. Essentially,
As-
they're not fully finished.
Pre-orders got an option to join a line where they'd be notified that they could then pre-order the whatever they're calling them, the touch things.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, for now, for anybody that can't afford $600 like I can't, I went out and got myself this little nifty $100 headset right here. This is the Gear VR, and if you haven't seen the Gear VR, this is what it looks like. But more to the point, it's really, really, really good, especially for $100. So this is probably the easiest recommendation, like purchase recommendation that I've made in a long time. It works so well, and I was so blown away by that. So, well, okay, let me put it on so I can look like an idiot.
I'm so ready for
pretty
this.
I can't hear you, so you can freely ridicule me. So there you go.
Look at those eyes.
Oh
The
my
phone in
god.
here looks a lot less weird, and then you've got your cover on there
No, it
too.
still was probably pretty weird, but yeah, you can
just-
see your eyes blown up. It's great.
Oh, really?
Just put your
Nice.
phone in there?
You look like
Oh my
googly
god.
eyes.
Yeah, you look like a freaking arts and crafts store project right now.
You look like Bubbles from Trailer Park Boys in the future.
Bear, you got to take pictures of yourself wearing that and use them for thumbnails and YouTube videos.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Like hundreds of them.
So the Gear VR is $100, and when I first put it on, it wasn't like a whoa, this is crazy, but you know, it was pretty surreal because I didn't expect to actually feel like I was there, you know, and that's something that people have been sort of trying to describe a lot. You know, like journalists and people that have been reviewing the Oculus and all this VR technology, they're trying to find the way to explain how it feels, and I think it's impossible because you sort of just have to do it in order to understand it. But it actually creates that sensation that you're somewhere else, which is something that I was really not expecting from a $100 piece of equipment. So I'm super satisfied with it. Obviously, it requires some high-end technology with your actual phone. So unless you have, I think it's a Galaxy S4 or better.
It's Android only, right?
Yeah, it's
And-
Android only. You can't do it with an iPhone either. So
Right.
well, the thing is too, like, so it's a very specifically designed product, right? So you've got this exact space where a phone is supposed to fit in. So you know, like, it's designed exactly for the 4 phones that use it. But because of that, I think it was able to be a better product. So I can appreciate that, I guess. But
What do you do with it?
well, me primarily, I've been using it to watch movies and watch Twitch. So it's got this feature built into it where you can browse between theaters that you want to sit in. So you can sit in like a home theater or a cinema theater or a theater on the moon or an ant theater where you're like this miniature person that's sitting on a pencil underneath some mushrooms. And it sounds silly, but that's actually like one of the coolest fucking things I've ever experienced.
and that's when you eat some mushrooms and then you put it on. And
I love
Is it real life?
It's so cool, man. I can't get
Alice
over
in
it.
Wonderland.
I have
Yeah.
J. Smith OTI childlike wonder about this product, man. It's
get a
fucking cool.
VR headset so I can pretend to be an ant sitting on a fucking pencil watching Twitch. Watching a dude sitting in a chair playing a video game.
The future is now.
It's so
This is
immersive.
beautiful.
Bear, does this device do anything other than hold your phone, or is it just a piece of plastic with a hole
So
in the end of it?
I'm going to get to some real selling points here. So I played some games on it because I knew we want to talk about some games, and I've got some good ones. I played Esper, which is a game. It's a first-person game, surprisingly. It's a puzzle game that takes place entirely in one room, and you are using your mind to maneuver objects around, which is probably like the simplest premise we possibly could have thought of when we were thinking about VR games. But it also works pretty well. So that one was pretty good. And then there's a free one called Smash Hit, which is it sort of acts like, I think,
A tech demo.
a tech demo. Yeah, exactly. So it works really well too, though. So you just move on rails through a hallway, and there are some diamonds and some various shapes that provide you with new metal balls that you fire with the little button on the side. And,
it has a button.
Yeah, there's a
I
button
didn't
on
know
the
it had a
side.
button.
It's got a little touchpad, so you navigate with that. You swipe around. It's sort of like a laptop touchpad, but it's got a little button in the center of it too.
Yeah.
And that one was a lot of fun, and I found myself going back and playing that over and over. So I've been really enjoying it. Oh, and then there was the final one too. This is Land's End, I think is what it was called, and that's more of just like an exploration one, but. The ones that create the full 3D environments are my favorites because they have a lot of attention to detail because the space that they have to work with is very limited. So like in Esper, for example, the room looked awesome and it felt realistic and it felt like the spacing made sense and everything. It's so crazy because you don't have to think about that stuff normally when you're playing a game, right? You don't consider the idea that, oh yeah, they really put this desk far enough away from me for me to feel like I'm actually there. Like that's not ever something I've had to analyze. So it's really impressing me, and I'm looking forward to the future of it because if this $100 thing that I bought at Best Buy on a whim is of this quality, then I'm pretty optimistic about the other things. And that's my Gear VR gush.
Can you imagine one day we're all just sitting at an actual round table? People can put on their VR headsets and they can look out of our eyes at each other.
Okay, that too. I wish so badly that there was a way to do like multiplayer versions of that because the only thing I wanted to do as soon as I got into that fucking ant theater was say to my wife, "Babe, you got to come in here. This is the coolest thing." But you know that doesn't really work that way right now.
Maybe soon though.
Yeah.
The way
I feel like we're on our way there.
The way I think about this, though, is kind of like when people were like, yo, dog, now that the internet and 3D games are like a big thing, what if you could enter like a 3D chat room that was like a world where you could walk around and interact with people? And that was like the height of what the future of socialization was going to be like.
Yeah.
And we're here like 10 years past the point where that could have happened. And outside of like MMOs, I guess, this is not the way it worked out at all. Just nobody gives a shit about it. That's kind of like, I don't think the watershed moment for VR can be, let's sit in a theater together and watch a movie.
Yeah, but it's so cool, man.
Well,
I don't dispute that.
Best
but-
argument.
I know that really is the only argument I have. Like, I
think
know,
about
but I want it.
tabletop sim and how fun that could be to get three friends together and actually play with shit on a board game together at a table.
Yeah,
virtual
definitely.
table. That's doable.
Those are all, yeah. It's like Ryan said though. Like it's not what is driving VR. You know, is the idea that we can all get together because we realize that we don't really actually want to share the virtual space with each other. We just want to be in different rooms using Let's Go to Meeting or something like that. But yeah, it's very. It really is giving me an optimistic mindset about VR because the experiences I had, I've mentioned to you guys a couple of times, I had some sort of suboptimal experiences with VR before that. Like I had a couple of Oculus experiences that left me sort of thinking, oh yeah, you know, that's kind of neat, but it's not really the immersion or the groundbreaking technology that I was sort of coming to expect from this experience. So it's left me with a much better taste in my mouth now. Like
I should
Mathas
point
will
out,
have.
like, with the Oculus, like, whenever I say, like, hey, $600 is, like, a little bit too expensive for me to buy in, the inclination seems to be like, well, you know, if you were to buy two 1440p monitors that run at that frequency, it would cost you this, and like you already need like a $2,000 PC, so $600 isn't that much. Like, you don't need that explanation right now. It's like a Mercedes costs like 80 grand, and there's a lot of engineering and hard work and handiwork that goes into it, but it's still too expensive for me.
Yeah, if you were gonna build a fucking Mercedes yourself, that would still be pretty pricey, man. You gotta recognize that.
So I'm very optimistic about VR, and I'm confident that the consumer grade Oculus will be like a cool product, but I still need something a little bit more to push me over the edge. Because I think, like, for me, I would put it on and be like, I'm like in the game, cool. But I need like my Wii Bowling to be like, this is kind of a proof of concept that this works. I don't want to just.
You need like the game that sells it.
I need
for
the
you,
killer
pretty
app
much.
for VR. Right? I can't just like put it on and be like, I'm on a roller coaster.
Okay.
Roller coasters make me vomit in the VR.
Yeah. I'm also
just so
concerned
excited.
about that. But
Like, the whole potential of it for me has me just giddy. So like, I almost don't even care what they're trying to give to me for a game. I know there's gonna be stuff, and I want to be in for it as soon as possible.
I'm pumped for it too, definitely. Now that I actually got like a really good video card, I'm actually eager to plug in my DK2 again, and like try out some of the stuff that didn't run very
I wanted
well.
to ask you about that, Mathas. Yeah, because that's sort of something I've been worried about with this purchase, which luckily it hasn't happened for me yet. The idea of just sort of getting sick of it and setting it to the side and forgetting about it. And well, has that happened for you with the Oculus, more or less?
No, I never got sick of it. The problem was that my card. Okay, so like as we discussed, the Oculus and I'm assuming the Vive and all that stuff is going to require kind of a beast of a machine to run it. I was running an i7 4790K and a 780 GTX when I initially got it.
Yeah, those are numbers.
Yeah, those are numbers. Like a 780 GTX like NVIDIA card it was pretty good.
A good processor, a good video card, if you're unfamiliar.
And I was still struggling with some games because of the way it needs to kind of filter through motion detection and all that stuff. I was still not hitting the frame rate that you kind of need to not feel sick or like brought out of the experience and stuff. Some games, on the other hand, were fine. So the reason I put it away is because games like Elite Dangerous, the one that I loved playing on my headset, it was an incredible experience. But once I left like a starport and I was out in space and like fighting, it would judder, it would like it blur, it would just not 100% there. So I had to put it down because I was gonna. All the games that I wanted to were making me vomit.
Yeah.
So I'm excited because looking at the specs and stuff. Now that I have my 980 in there, I'm really pumped to plug in my DK2 again and really experience those high-end games in the DK. I'll be curious what it's going to be like. But the bottleneck was very much the video card, though. Like, my processor is still pretty high-end. Like, the processor that I have still goes for like $300 or $400. It was the video card that was holding it back.
So that is something I should mention as well that you just reminded me of. It's a lot more noticeable when you have those sorts of issues in VR.
It's really noticeable.
And it really destroys it for you, too. Like, almost instantly, it completely breaks the immersion, and you think, oh, geez, yeah, that fucked with my head. It must just be the proximity of the screen to your eyes because, it doesn't look like it's even necessarily that bad. It'll be like a vertical tear here or there that'll, all of a sudden completely shatter the screen for half a second and then move things right back to where they were.
It fucks it completely, destroys the experience.
It's just like your brain goes crazy. So that is an unfortunate side effect of it. But, it's, I guess, something that just sort of comes with the territory, right, as far as that's concerned.
The other thing I'm a little nervous about, just being somebody who's really prone to motion sick, is games that require fast movement.
I thought you were getting sick right
now.
You're
just
thinking about it. Just getting you going.
Sorry, I'm prone. Just talking about it.
So prone.
But like, there are some games that are like, if you're prone to motion sickness, just be wary because games like roller coasters or any fast moving thing. What I noticed is being on those things, getting up to the top of a hill, your body is like, because it's very confused. Your mind is confused, so your body is expecting to feel that drop. And so when you go down and you start moving and your body doesn't feel that drop, but you still have the sinking feeling in your stomach.
You get that sensation still, yeah.
Yeah, and then like you're like, well, I'm not feeling the force, and it just it makes me really sick. If that's something you're prone to normally, like it's going to be worse on a virtual set because your body is not experiencing what it's expecting to experience So you just like vomit, like, oh, I can't do it.
And even if you don't think you're that guy, you might be that guy when it comes to VR. I didn't think I was going to be that guy either, but it got me pretty bad a couple of times. Like I had to, well, you know, I figure it's probably a good idea to not stay in there for too long anyway, but I did have to take pretty frequent breaks.
We say that now. In 10 years, we're all never going to freaking wake up.
We'll be wearing this shit like it's normal stuff, man. I saw a picture of a dude just enjoying a McDonald's McCafe outside patio. Yeah.
Yo, dog, get on my mushroom. I'm watching an old episode of Scrubs.
Me on my mushroom.
My mushroom.
Man, I promise it's good.
You haven't seen How I Met Your Mother until you've seen it on a mushroom.
We don't even fucking sit on the mushroom, okay? We sit on a stick, and it's under the mushrooms. There's a lot of them. It's a field of them, and it's beautiful. Fuck you.
This reminds me of like
game.
when you would have like Winamp in 2001, and you'd be like, "Yo, dog, what kind of visualizations you got hooked up there? What kind of
I made those. I made the visuals.
You did too. I did it too, man.
And you're like, yo, you wouldn't understand, man. The music just sounds differently when you set the mood with the visualizations.
You know, in Indie Game the Movie, when Phil Fish would sit with a monitor right in front of his eyes, that was me in like 2003 making Winamp visualizations.
Yeah.
I was just staring at the flashing
vizzes.
lights.
I like you calling them vizzes. That's hip.
Vizzes.
Yeah.
I was just blasting Spine Shank listening to that shit.
Blasting spine shank, making vizzes, man. Come hang out under my mushrooms.
It's a fucking future. Oh, man.
But there are definitely some things that really amplify the motion sickness. I don't know about you, Bear, but for me, another thing was like getting really close to a wall. I don't know if you can really do that, but
No,
if I
I
get
didn't
really
really
close
have
to
to.
a wall, like, and then like turning my head and stuff, and just the way the wall would, it made me vomit too.
Luckily, most of my experiences have either been sitting still or moving in a straight line. But I guess it's probably a completely different experience to just be playing on a PC too, because with these games, the games designed for the Gear VR, they're not really going to be, you know, well, actually, there might be a lot of the same offerings that are being made available on the Rift too. But you know, the difference being there's games being made for the PC that aren't being made for Oculus VR, right? So that's the difference.
My impression of the Gear VR from what I've heard is that as soon as you put it on, it puts the game on like a screen, and you can look at your hand and see the controller and then play it like really far away. And you're like, man, it's like I've really got a controller in my hands right now.
Maybe. There's probably a couple games like that, but I haven't really. I wouldn't say that if you ask me now. Yeah, that's about all I've got for VR. And now we can quickly touch on RevelMode, which was a story that just came around today. Very specific story, may not impact too many generally gaming enthused folks, but it is definitely worth noting. A new MCN, it appears, right? This is pretty much an MCN.
They're
that
still
created.
under Maker. They're still
Okay.
under Maker. Disney Maker owned still.
It's RevelMode. It's the new network curated by PewDiePie, Felix Kjellberg, for those of you who know him by his proper name.
Kjellberg.
Sounded like you
Kjellberg.
said Care Bear.
Care Bear.
Felix Kjellberg. Contains such notable YouTubers as Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, Kwebblecop, Cinnamon Ken, Dodger, and a few others as well. And well, this is big simply because of the people in it. That alone is noteworthy. But I think just the fact that PewDiePie has made his own network is sort of the news story here, right?
I mean, we knew it was coming. The initial, I think not maybe announcement, the initial understanding a few months back was that he was going to be breaking from Maker and doing his own thing, but that is no longer the case. And I'm curious what the differences are going to be between like Polaris and his network. Primarily, I'm curious about splits in the offerings and what they're going to be doing with that.
Well, this is like the black credit card, right? This is like the.
This is the cream of the
unlimited
crop.
spending.
I really do. Yeah, this is like the cream of the crop, like highest, grossing probably YouTubers, or best known YouTubers maybe.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, what else do we really know about it other than that?
Well, that's the thing, is that we don't know much. They are just now announcing it. But this is sort of what I wanted to ask. This is the question I wanted to ask A lot of times we see these networks pop up that are saying things like, we are going to, well, let's just take their words right out of their mouths. They're going to curate content, raise money for charity, and so much more. What is that?
So do what they've been
What is
doing
that?
and
So
do
much
nothing else.
more.
Yeah. So, I'm pretty sure that means nothing because we've heard it before and we know what networks do and we know what they are for.
Yeah.
I have no idea what else they would be doing.
It's my guess is going to be probably a better split for whatever is in there. And I would assume that whoever's in there is going to be guaranteed managed.
Yeah.
So that'll be something big.
Yeah. Well,
And outside
the
of that, like-
the thing about that too is like it's pretty easy to assume that of the people in there now, most of, if not all of them, are already enjoying this status for the most part, like you described. They're probably not even working on splits anymore. I imagine they've got something that's totally different. And then they're all managed. I'm sure they're all multi-million subscriber YouTubers that all independently didn't need something like this. So obviously baseless speculation for the most part here, but it's interesting to think of where this may be going. Also,
Well, I'm confused about it because it's still part of Maker,
yeah.
which is what Polaris is part of. Like, it's still under that umbrella. So what are they bringing to the table that Polaris does not?
They must
What is
have more
different?
creative control than they did prior.
They must,
Otherwise,
right?
there's
Like-
literally no other reason for them
That's
to
what
have done it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm curious.
No, that definitely makes sense.
I don't know. I don't really like to comment on it because there's so much unknown that we're just filling
'Cause we
in
don't
the
know.
blanks.
Yeah.
And I think the blanks are being filled in based on assumptions that we have no actual knowledge of. And I worry that this is feeding perhaps a stereotype of the YouTubers involved that is not helpful.
What would that be?
Well, I don't know. Are they all multi-million subscribed YouTube channels?
Yeah, I'm pretty
Not
sure.
Dodger.
Dodger doesn't
Dodger's
have
not.
a million subscribers, does she?
Okay.
No.
Like, I don't know. I just think we're kind of filling in the blanks here with a lack of information, and I wouldn't want to speculate about it. The stuff that I would want to speculate about is all inside baseball stuff, like, again, managed or what the CPM would be or stuff like that. But, I don't want to burn any bridges by coming across like I have a bad impression of the network without knowing anything about
All
it
right,
at all.
so let's save face here by saying, hey, if any of you 9 people are watching this video, we mean you no ill will whatsoever. We'd love to join your network.
This stuff is on the public record, man. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'm not going to speculate on it.
That's fair.
We don't know anything. We don't gain anything by speculating.
It's
no
just
one's
very
ever-
interesting, you know?
If we're wrong, no one's ever going to call us on it. And if we're right, we get to say, like, oh, I told you so. I knew it.
Oh, that's worth it. That alone right there. That's the feeling we need. No, I think just the simple fact that these are probably some of the most, if not the most influential people on YouTube right now. So it's definitely going to make waves. It already has, of course. This is a channel that just popped up today for RevelMode that now has like 30,000 subscribers. So, like they have the power to do a lot of stuff on YouTube. So it's certainly worth, in my opinion, like investigating the possibilities here of what they could potentially be trying to bring to the table. I don't know if they're maybe even going for a little bit of a liberation tactic, perhaps, for YouTubers who are caught in the deep depressing well of 60-40 RPM splits, like maybe something like that's going on here. But yeah, it's also very true, as you mentioned, that wild speculation may not be the idea that we want to stick with.
99% of the time, in my perspective, the network that a channel is under has no effect on the content. So,
It's true. Yeah.
like, I mean, we had the same thing happen like a year and a half ago when Jetpack was started by CNanners and Vanos and Syndicate.
What happened
And
to that?
It's
still
still
there?
going.
Is
That's
it?
it,
Wow.
like, yeah. Like, I don't want to devote too much, I guess, attention to a news story that is probably going to be like, they incorporated and now they're going to just basically be the MCN that other YouTubers continue to do business as usual under.
Fair enough. All right. Let's talk about Tharsis. It's new.
I really wish I could.
Oh, damn. What happened?
I just it's the same. I tried to get into it a second time, and my brain, I just couldn't parse how it worked. Like the tutorial was too much info
okay.
for me, and I just couldn't do it. So I actually watched today. I think I watched a little bit of Quill, a little bit of Ryan, and now I have a pretty solid understanding as to how Tharsis worked.
You didn't watch
But it
me,
looked
though.
cool.
You wanted to get an
Tharsis
understanding of
before
it.
we
Yeah.
too far down that well?
Get into the what it is.
Sure, Tharsis is a turn-based space strategy game, dice-based for pretty much everything. The goal is to get your crew to Mars after an unexpected disaster hits and forces you to act on your feet. It's very difficult. That, I think, we can all agree on, right? It's a pretty
Luck-based, I
tough
think.
game. Yeah, a lot of luck involved with it, too, unfortunately. Overall, I am a pretty big fan. And I'm willing to let the luck stuff, not even really let it slide necessarily, because I sort of feel like that's maybe a little bit of the appeal to it for certain people. And I think this one's going to be a little divisive as well. Not necessarily between all the four of us, but with people in general. For that reason, maybe alone. Feel free to take the win, though.
I can't say anything about it. My only complaint about it so far, out of the very little time that I put into it, is that the tutorial is just, and the UI is a little bit just, there's too much going on, and they don't do a very good job at like breaking it down for
Yeah, you have
someone
a lot
like
of
me.
options.
Yeah, for
Right.
someone like me who I have a hard time like comprehending without reading something 100 times, and if there's just a lot going on the screen, I just can't focus. So I couldn't figure it out. I just couldn't break into it.
I was that the first time I booted it up, and it took me a little while to get into it. But once I figured it out, it's pretty intuitive once you recognize what everything is on screen. And as you mentioned, they probably need a better tutorial to sort of give you a better idea of what actually is done with such things as the research projects and the individual modules. Make a little bit more sense when you've employed those tactics in a run. But yeah, I think that's definitely a knock on it that's valid.
I agree with that. I think it starts out a little inaccessible and kind of needlessly so because it's pretty simple in its mechanics. Basically, what it does is just give you a lot of options. You know, people have been kind of reductively calling it space Yahtzee, but that's pretty much what it is. Like, you roll dice. There's a category that's best to commit those dice to save your life or extend your life. If you can't commit to that, go down the flow chart. Like, do I have anything that can do this? Do I have anything that can do this? But it's like almost too much when you first see it. You're like, what is this research? What is like character, my character class? What is growing food mean? And then the other thing I think about Tharsis, even though I quite like it, is that it seems like the cannibal stuff is kind of like shoehorned in.
Yeah, I was going to say that too.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Like
It's
4
like to
weeks
be
in.
extreme a little bit. Like, it doesn't seem like it really needs to be there.
Edgy.
Yeah,
Like, the
yeah.
marketing is like, you know, cannibals in space, but it's like, it doesn't really have to be cannibalism. It seems like kind of an arbitrary game mechanic, I guess, but that could also just be the way it's presented.
Yeah, I was actually just about to say a little bit of the presentation there, because there are just some gratuitous parts of it that exist solely for the idea of, oh yeah, you terrible person, you ate another human being, what's wrong with you? But overall, I think there's a few things like that I don't love as well. Like the story, speaking of the word shoehorned, I don't know, like especially near the end, I'm not going to spoil anything for what spoilers there might be, but it's definitely not the strongest part of the game. I think it's just sort of forgettable, you know. It's got a pretty classic sci-fi niche to it that doesn't really draw me in, so that was not my favorite aspect.
It's also weird for a game that mechanically seems focused on repeat playthroughs to have kind of a story that's set every time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of story progression, I kind of feel like it would have worked better if it was similar to FTL, where there's kind of like a conceit at the start and a goal at the end, and then the stuff that happens along the journey is actually the emerging gameplay. Like, sometimes with the linear story cutscenes, you'll have like a really awesome week one, and everyone will be fine, and they'll be like, tempers are starting to flare. And I'm like, well, that doesn't reflect what happened.
Right.
Because everything's under control. We're actually like better off now than we were at week 0. But like, I think it kind of cheapens the story that it tries to double dip in like being a story-based experience, but also something that's meant to be replayed over and over. If it is meant to be replayed over and over, which I feel like it is.
I think it's absolutely the strongest when you look at it from that perspective, of it being something that you can go back to and play for 45-minute to an hour sessions, which is, a genre that I am a big fan of, but also is a little, oversaturated, and unfortunately, a lot of the entries in that genre are not terrific. So, I think I like this well enough simply because it is a game that executes its premise well and is very fun to play. I think it's a fun game to play, albeit with a little bit of rage-inducing luck that can sometimes not fall your way.
Yeah.
I've been really enjoying myself, though, enough to, I started a series on it, so I'm obviously enjoying it to a certain extent. But I've been having fun with it, and I like the balance especially. I think the balance is done pretty damn well. I think it does a very good job of putting you in a whole bunch of positions through the course of a single playthrough that are very difficult decisions to make, which I think is something undervalued in games in a whole.
I agree.
Like that. The ability to create a situation in a game that presents two options that are very difficult to choose between, that's really tough to do. That is extremely difficult. So,
and it's also risky, too, because if you get it wrong, you risk making a lot of players angry and potentially not have them return to doing what the decision would have been. Mm-hmm. So you want to take some power away, but not all of it.
Yeah.
I like the idea of it too. Like, again, I'm speaking from a point where I've really barely scratched the tutorial, but one of the things that I was excited about when I got the email from them, they're like, it's a bit of FTL. So I went in with an idea of like replayability, random encounters. But when I haven't played much, but when I've watched people play it and the little I played, it really does seem more heavily in favor of the RNG aspect than really your control. Your control just is limited to, all right, well, that's what RNG has given you. Yeah. Where are you going to put those
mostly
numbers?
Tamper with the result of RNG, right?
Right.
I actually
layers too.
The thing about Tharsis that I actually find interesting, and I'm interested to see where people fall on this, is I really feel like since where it really came out for me was like when Darkest Dungeon did its early access changes, and people started treating like RNG as an objective flaw in game design, like reliance on RNG. So in Tharsis, there's no getting around it. You're like literally physically rolling dice on the screen and then committing those results. But I actually like that. Like that doesn't bother me at all. And I accept that, sometimes that means I'll do better than I should because I've rolled and it compensated for my shitty decisions. Or sometimes I'll play perfectly but still lose as a result of the RNG. And that's part of the fun for me. But I'm interested to know where other people kind of fall on that issue.
I think the problem with Darkest Dungeon initially was that the RNG aspects were kind of introduced over time, if I remember correctly. A lot of people were getting mad because the game initially, when it was released, there was RNG involved, but there was more player control, and then they started introducing like the dead bodies thing and all this other stuff that introduced more RNG aspects to the game that took control away from the player that was previously there, where Tharsis, it's built in. So I don't have a problem with it. I think my point was that they marketed it to me in a way that was like, you like FTL, you'll probably like Tharsis, and I think they're just totally separate games. I really don't think there's any comparison there.
I wanted to mention that too. I definitely got a lot of people telling me if you like FTL, you'll like Tharsis, but I sort of fail to see that comparison apart from the setting and maybe a little bit of the gameplay.
The way it's structured is a little FTL-like, but the actual gameplay and the decisions you make are not really FTL-like. I would agree. Mm-hmm. You could probably
like
spin
marketing
it.
Speak to me.
Yeah,
It's just sort of broad strokes. It's like, hey, it's in space, there's RNG, it's a spaceship, and things are going wrong.
I
It's
feel
very
like
broad.
It's like evocative enough, I guess, but I don't know like what else you would market it as, because you either say that or you have to be like it's a digital
or you say it's
representation
space
of a board
Yahtzee,
game,
right?
Exactly. You'd be like, well, it's Yahtzee in space, and people will be like, I will never.
No, I don't even think it's wrong that they use that to represent it, because it did give you enough of the flavor that you can figure out the rest, and the game is strong enough on its own that when you realize it's not really like FTL, you're not mad about it because it's still its own thing.
Right.
But like you said, though, that requires you at least investing that initial amount of time, which is going to be a tough sell when the idea is space Yahtzee, right?
That's why they got to get the tutorial sorted out, because I felt like Mathas in that it seemed really confusing. There was so many variables you needed to learn.
There's just text things popping up like all over the place. I'm like, I don't know where to look.
I don't think it's not able to be managed for sure. Like after 3 or 4 games, I kind of got the idea. But at first, you're like, here's 4 characters. They all have their traits. There's a ship with different parts that are all kind of on fire sometimes, what's breaking in them and what does it mean if I fix them?
And the
How
thing
do
about
I
it too is
live?
you're supposed to be panicked in that stage, right? So you're going into the game in mostly a panic state, and if you don't understand entirely what you're doing, then it's gonna be pretty easy to get turned off to it as a new player.
They also push a sense of urgency at the beginning, which there isn't actually. It's actually turn-based. Nothing happens until you tell it you're done.
Right.
That reminded me of what was the name of that point and click game?
Gods
Will be watching.
Yeah.
I remember the same problem happened for me when I initially played Gods Will Be Watching. I was like in a panic. I'm like, I gotta get this shit done.
Right.
And then you realize it's turn-based. You're like, oh, there's not a lot of panic going on right now.
I think Gods Will Be Watching is actually a really good comparison. Not only because of the way that it's kind of structured and being turn-based, but because in the way that you could play optimally and still get screwed by RNG, which I brought it up as a direct comparison because I love Gods Will Be Watching, but a lot of people whose opinions I really respect were like, this game is hot trash because RNG can fuck you. It's just kind of interesting, I guess, how people kind of split along the line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's very rewarding, but also some balance sometimes should be introduced. Otherwise, you just get frustrated. I mean, that's really the only...
Nick.
I didn't feel like there was so much power ever given to me that it eventually wasn't all going to be taken away later by RNG. I mean, there were certain games where I started and I was in a really good position compared to 90% of the other times, which seems like, okay, so why don't I just spam reset until I find a good starting run? Otherwise, I'm already doing myself by turn 4, right?
I like RNG in a game, but I'm with Nick where like if you're going to introduce RNG, you have to introduce a mechanic where you can deal with bad RNG. It's going to be hard, it's going to be challenging, but I don't want RNG to completely end your game. I think that is where I personally draw the line. I hate where a game is like, RNG fucked you, there's nothing you can do, haha, play again. I'm okay with the game being like, RNG just made this 100 times more difficult, but it's still possible if you play well. And I think Isaac, you know, I know we use that example a lot, but Isaac is one of the games that's done it the best, where RNG can fuck you really hard, but if you keep playing and you play well, you can still succeed.
And I do believe there is some of that in this game, by the way. I think there's enough depth and strategy that as you start to unravel the layers of it, you realize there's more control than you think you have. But I'm not entirely all the way there yet.
Like, I think it's easy to forget that there are strategies that you can take that they might not seem like it, but they do give you a degree of control over the RNG, or at least influence. Like, giving your units more dice, that gives you a better chance of actually hitting the rolls that you want. And, you know, committing to stuff like food to give them more dice, or having the class that gives you more rerolls, or using your pilot class in a module to give an extra reroll to the other units that come into that module. Like, those are strategies that do mitigate RNG, even if, you know, the response is like, well, you're just throwing another dice. Well, it's true, yeah, but the extra dice is another chance to get to the point that you need to get to, I guess.
I mean, Blood Bowl is the most RNG game I play and tolerate its nonsense because I still feel like Blood Bowl gives enough control over player positioning where you can mitigate RNG to a degree where maybe Tharsis is still pretty RNG heavy.
Yeah.
But I think if it is over the line, it's only over by a tiny bit, and I'm not even sure if it is over.
That's what it seems like.
That's
That's what it seems like. Yeah.
I definitely
I'm not
agree
saying
with
it's bad. I can't give you an opinion. I haven't played enough.
One of the things I thought when I was playing is that as like a single player experience, I think it's pretty good. I probably like it more than the average, but more than the average person, not more than the average game necessarily.
Right.
But I think what would be really cool is I almost thought it was like Forbidden Island, where if they had like a tabletop version and everybody played one of the classes, and it like those would be like really quick like tabletop turns. We could like advise each other on what to do.
Yeah,
that seems like a really cool like engaging way to play it.
Yeah, it makes me think of like the Battlestar Galactica game a little bit, but yeah,
So
like you
fun.
said, with the co-op version of it. Somebody tweeted that, I think, at me today. That was a good idea. Somebody should make that. If they can make a This War of Mine board game, they can make a Tharsis board game. Make it happen.
Thought somebody said they might be thinking about considering doing that, maybe.
I hope they do.
That's enough qualifiers there.
Absolutely, yeah. Let's go to the next game, though. Let's talk about Punch Club. It's the new one from Tiny Build, developed by Lazy Bear Games. I like that. Punch Club is basically Game Dev Tycoon with fighting. Is that fair?
That's exactly how I pitch it to people who are like, what is it like? I'm like, it's Game Dev Tycoon with boxing and a branching storyline.
Yeah. And it's fun, it's wacky, but, you know, it's not like jazz punk wacky. It's sort of more of like a self-aware humor, I think. There's a lot of very obvious references scattered throughout it, and I think
No, the game is cram-packed. packed with obvious
Yeah,
references.
yeah, it's sort of just egregious almost. There's a dude behind the bar who is dressed like Brad Pitt, named Tyler, who quotes Fight Club.
Man.
No, it's true. There's Casey is the pizza owner, I believe, from
Yeah.
Ninja Turtles. You've got Apu from The Simpsons is in there. There's Ninja Turtles references.
Yeah.
There's Jay and Silent Bob references at the convenience store.
What I
Like,
can appreciate is that 95% of the references are stupid enough that I can understand them. So I feel like I
True.
really understand a lot of the humor in this game. So I have played, let me actually check because it's sort of embarrassing.
I thought we as a society were against memes in games. It was the thing everybody held against Guacamelee, and now I see people being like, you know...
people hate Guacamelee. Maybe I'm just out of the loop.
People hate Guacamelee
I
for the
love
memes.
Guacamelee.
But
I didn't know that.
When I was talking about it, people were like, yeah, but there's like a troll face in the background. But then like, Casey Jones is the pizza owner?
Yeah.
These guys get me.
People are freaking
Well,
fickle,
I
man.
mean,
They
I
change
have
their
no
minds
problems.
every day.
Bring on the memes, man.
Leonardo is punching the main character in the face in the Steam image for the game. So I don't know. They probably wear it on their sleeve a little bit. So I've got 8 hours in Punch Club. And
You more than me.
yeah, I'm addicted. I think it has the exact...
Have you beaten it at all?
No, I've well, okay. So I started off. There are 3 distinct skills or stats, I should say, that you can level up in Punch Club. There is your strength, your agility, and your endurance. So the game suggests that you focus on one and sort of let your other ones, you know, like build up slowly along with them. So you can either focus on strength, agility, or endurance. I started out as strength, mostly because the path for strength is called the Way of the Bear, and I had to be honest with myself.
Right.
I went about 100 days into that, and I very quickly realized that that was the incorrect choice. And I'm pretty sure there's just a correct choice in this game, and it's agility.
Agility is what I heard, yeah.
And it's sort of disappointing because I was loving the game up to the point where I realized, oh, agility is just sort of the best. And there's
That's
not really,
unfortunate.
there's not really a way to argue it. What was your experience with it though, Mathas?
So you've played it way more than me, but I really enjoyed Game Dev Tycoon, and I like that managing, and there's something very satisfying about watching bubbles go up to your little bars and stuff.
Yeah.
But what I like about it personally, outside of like the stat management, and there's a lot of skills you can choose from. You can really kind of customize your fighter pretty well. Is the branching storyline. Like that's my favorite part. I like that I can go, like it's a very generic story opener. You know, your dad was a boxer. He gets shot by some skeezy guy. Now you're trying to be a boxer and like avenge him or whatever. What I like is like you can become the professional boxer, or you can be under. And you're all laughing at something. I don't know why.
sorry.
I see Nick like somewhat laughing.
I pulled up your video of your Punch Club
Oh,
video.
no, did you let it
and-
play? You
Well,
see me
it's
punching
playing,
things?
and what's hilarious is you're wearing the exact same shirt.
Oh,
So you're up here on the top bar, going like talking about all this stuff with your hands, and then down on the top right corner of your Fight Club video or your Punch Club video, it's you doing the exact same thing.
anyway, what I like that you can be like a professional boxer, you can be like an underground boxer, or you can be like a street fighter, and they all have different stories and stuff. That's like my favorite part of the game. I enjoy that.
Agreed.
Shadowboxing, yeah, that's what I was doing. I was shadowboxing. I was teaching
He's
everybody.
practicing, right?
I haven't played the release build of Punch Club, but I played the PAX build at home. It was like half hour long. And I played the same PAX build at PAX like a week later, and I really don't think it's for me. Admittedly, have not played the release build, but my impression from the PAX demo was that it was less like Game Dev Tycoon and much more like a dating sim, basically, where you're like, you're not trying to court people, but it's like, okay, I'm going to use my resource to go to, almost like a visual novel, but not as linear, I guess. Like, I'm going to use my limited time resource to go to the grocery store now, and I'm going to buy a hamburger and eat it. That's going to give me the fuel to run on this treadmill for like 30 seconds, and then I'm going to go to sleep, and then tomorrow, you know, my energy will be recharged, and I'm going to, you know, do the same thing, basically. And it did not resonate, like, with my sense of humor at all. I was like, my dude ate a burger out of the trash can and like hallucinated and fought a Teenage Mutant Ninja crocodile. And I was like, yeah, I know who the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are, but like, it's not like, for me, I guess it's not inherently funny.
Well,
not
it's not laugh out loud funny. It's that sort of like, okay, funny.
It's a Ninja Turtle.
Yeah.
It's not for me, I think.
The gameplay is just so inherently addicting. Like I start and then I can't stop, which is clearly a good sign for it. Also, of course, the whole spectacle behind Punch Club was the Twitch Plays Punch Club promotional event that they did, which I was thinking about that as they put it up, and wouldn't it just be the worst thing in the world if they ran that and nobody played it? It just sat on Twitch, like 1 to 2 viewers desperately trying to get through the game. No one else cared. So I'm glad that people actually latched onto that for Tiny Build's sake, because that would have been terrible. Also, speaking of Tiny Build, like, good God, they are killing it recently with their promotions. They're announcing 4 new games in 4 days right now. I think they just announced the second of 2, and they've got 2 more on the way. These aren't just like little, fucking itch.io games that they put up. Like, these are full-fledged, no disrespect to itch.io, but they're like actual, games that they're announcing, and it's just kind of crazy that they've got 4 at that stage. So kudos to them.
This is like I'm questioning whether or not I should even say it, but like I don't really like anything that they've done that much except for speedrunners.
Speedrunners, yeah.
Like, and I'm not trying to shit on them as a publisher. I think they do a lot of good for indie games, and like they're very developer friendly from what I've heard. And I'm happy that Punch Club has done well. I think they marketed it very cleverly, and a lot of people like it. You have 8 hours in it, but like Party Hard, I feel like had kind of the same thing where it was like marketed well, and for like 3 days people were like, Party Hard's pretty fun, and then it just fell off. And like I will say the train game that they announced, like the post-apocalyptic train survival game. Yeah. It looks cool, but everybody's losing their shit, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know that I've hit that point for Tiny Build yet. I really like them as a publisher, but compared to the pedigree of something like it's not even fair to like compare publishers like this, but when I see like Devolver's coming out with something, I'm like, okay, that's probably going to be interesting. When I see that Tiny Build's coming out with something, I don't have that reaction yet.
That's fair.
But
Devolver just has a better track record. Yeah, that's all.
That's my philosophy.
I completely agree with everything you said. Like all of it.
Yeah, it's kind of hard not to. I mean, just looking back at Tiny Build's list, I mean, you've got No Time to Explain, which was, okay. Spoiler alert, which was sort of universally panned. You got a few games that I've never even heard of. Divide by Sheep, which...
That game was actually pretty good.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
I'll be the one guy who played that math-based puzzler. It was pretty good.
I heard it was math-based, and I kind of was like not into it.
It has to do with the...
Probably why I didn't touch it.
Tell me all about Human Resource Machine, man.
Oh, dude, Human Resource Machine is awesome.
That's what I heard.
If you actually want me to tell you all about it, I will. But I'll give you an out in case there was a show.
Whatever, man. 1.5 minute spiel on Human Resource Machine.
You're late, Jacksepticeye.
I'll give you a
right?
video even. How about that?
Human Resource Machine is basically a game in which you manipulate boxes and then send them to an outbox that simulates programming logic. So basically, you grab a little bit of data, manipulate it within the physical environment of the game, and then send it to the outbox. You're basically building a machine that does that for you.
And you like it a lot.
It's very satisfying, yeah. It's one of the few puzzle games that has made me feel like a genius because I have a little bit of built-in programming knowledge, I guess. So when I played it, unlike most puzzle games, I was like, my head is already here. Like, I know exactly how to do what you want me to do.
I could hear that in your voice as I was watching your video, by the way, just like the level of excitement you genuinely had for, oh, this makes sense to me because of my knowledge. And I only contrast that with the approach I had to it, which was none of this makes any sense whatsoever.
Human Resource Machine is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then I'm playing TIS 100 right now, which is Human Resource Machine, but for geniuses. And I'm like 3 puzzles deep. I'm 3 puzzles deep and like can't do anything.
Nick looks like he's exhausted hearing about
No,
it.
I'm thinking back of Space Chem because it's like I wanted so badly to love that game, and I really did, but I'm too stupid to play it.
Space Chem is real tough.
That's a tough feeling.
Human
to
Resource
swallow,
Machine is like the same way you don't need to be like a structural engineer to play World of Goo. I think it's kind of the same for Human Resource Machine. Is that you get into the language pretty quickly. But TIS 100 is like you need to know what you're doing
Human
to some
Resource
extent.
Machine reminded me of my programming days and just gave me PTSD, and I couldn't touch it.
Oh.
I hate programming. I hate programming so much.
You're missing the artistry, man.
No, I am aware, but my brain does not. I hate it. I hated it. Nope. No, thank you.
Back to Punch Club, I guess, real quick. Anything left to say about that one? I think.
Let me just say one thing, which is that I don't inherently have a negative bias towards tiny build. I just like I think that because of the reaction that I've had to a couple of games that they come out recently, I'm kind of like, what's the big deal? Like that they whenever they announce something and I see Twitter go nuts, I'm like, I guess it just is passing me by for whatever reason right now. But I still like, if something comes in the inbox from Tiny Build, I know that it's at least reputable.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like I'm like, oh, fucking Tiny Build game. You know.
Yeah.
It's just none of them, at least since Speedrunners, has really kind of grabbed me the same way.
I think with this game in particular, you're sort of nailing it when you say this will probably occupy my time for another few days and then I'll never play it again.
Dude, I'm amazed that you have 8 hours at a Punch Club. That's cool.
I like it a lot. But
8 hours is where you cross the threshold of like, I'll play this game for a while into like I'm actually enjoying playing this and it's not like a chore. That's like a whole night.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm having a really good time with it, but I am very aware of the fact that I will get to a point where I decide, okay, yeah, I've had my fill of this experience. But I know actually that there's a lot more beyond what I've played, and I've sort of maybe even given myself a good opportunity to elongate the amount of time that I spend in this game artificially by starting a new file and just going agility heavy. So the first character I made was the biggest piece of shit because the entire strategy he had was go for the knees as hard as you can. So just fucking destroy their limbs. And they won't be able to fight you back.
Jesus.
So I really wouldn't have wanted to run
some
into
of
my
those
fighter.
boxers are cheaters, man. I was fighting one and he kicked me, and I'm like, that's bullshit.
That's
this is a boxing
bullshit,
match.
dude. That's not how this works. You have to go to the underground ring for that.
Yep.
So you get your kicks in. Those are the only people I could fight because I'd just destroy their kneecaps. Yeah, that's Punch Club. I highly recommend it. I think
do,
personally
too.
I can say this is a lot of fun to play. If you liked Game Dev Tycoon even a little bit, you're probably going to like Punch Club. Nick, any final thoughts?
I actually didn't play it.
All right.
I only got it like the day before you said we were going to talk about it on the show, so I didn't play it yet.
Fair enough.
Sorry.
You should play it. I think it's a good one.
All right.
$10 available now. Also, Tharsis, I think I failed to mention the price tag on that one. It's $15.
10 for opening week and then 15 afterwards, yeah.
Okay, cool.
And I will say at $15, I think that's probably a little pricey for Tharsis.
Yeah?
10 seems nice. 15 is like,
Yeah.
I would hesitate to recommend it to someone who's on the fence.
Okay.
Oh, guys, we got to talk about Assassin's Creed Chronicles.
No, we don't.
India?
No, we don't, man.
It's mostly positive reviews, man.
We honestly, I'm pretty sure we are on a streak of talking about Assassin's Creed in the show.
Every
It's
episode.
probably 5 weeks
It's
long.
in the news, man. They're newsmakers.
It's crazy. They released a new game. A new
is this
Assassin's
like-
Creed game came out yesterday.
Is it like made for PC or is it
Yeah, it's
like a port?
So this is part 2 of 3 of the Chronicles series, which is going to be in China, India, and Russia. What's the third one? I don't know. The first
Are
one.
they going for the largest countries on Earth? Because
It's a smart joke. I understood it though. See, I know geography as it pertains to the top 3 countries by landmass. You can get me on those jokes.
Canada's number 2, but
Damn it.
one day.
Assassin's Creed Canada?
There you
That's
go.
gonna happen one day.
I don't even
want
want
it.
to acknowledge this, man. It's just, it's another. Well, it's the second of the 3 2.5D Assassin's Creed games. So that's what this one is.
Dude, when Nick linked that to me, that's probably the most Nickish I've ever gotten about watching like gameplay footage or something.
What does that even mean?
Because I saw
What
the
does that mean? What do you think of me?
the assassin
We're getting into a
dude.
deep hole, man. Huh?
The assassin dude snuck up on a guy, all sneaky like, jumped up, kicked him in the back, did a backflip, then pulled out his sword and stabbed him through the chest. And I was like, why wouldn't they just stab him through the back when he snuck up on him? And then
be
most of the time,
practical about it, right?
if Nick had said that, I'd be like, Nick, it's for style points, right? But I was like, this doesn't make any sense.
yeah.
It's like to make something stylish, it just completely like betrays the essence of the game, which is,
Yeah.
I guess, stealth action. But
Well,
wasn't China? It was like mediocre.
no, yeah, I didn't even
Or
like
okay?
it. I didn't
Okay.
like it at all. It was just, yeah, I don't want to play that Assassin's Creed game, and I really don't want to play Assassin's Creed Chronicles India, nor do anyone else, apparently. It's got 40 reviews on Steam so far, and the description, I believe, is in Italian. So
Yeah, I really don't know why there's so little English on that description.
Yeah. So that's interesting.
Very little English.
So Chronicles China has a mixed review. Right now, India has mostly positive. We'll see how fast that drops.
Yeah.
What are the Steam Spy stats on the new one?
Have a look.
Would they be up yet?
While you figure that out for me, I'm going to go ahead and introduce everybody to everyone's favorite segment. It is Ask Roundtable. You can send in questions to Ask Roundtable by emailing them to roundtableyt@gmail.com. Every week we answer a new question. We do our best to answer as many as we can. This week's question comes from Kirk. He says, loving the podcast so far. Love your YouTube channels, but enough with the pleasantries. It's question time. A few weeks ago, you answered what your favorite game from your favorite genre was. That made me curious as to what your favorite game from your least favorite genre is.
Your favorite game in your least favorite genre?
Your favorite game from your least favorite genre. So I think, first of all, we have to determine what our least favorite genres are. So let's go around. I'd say mine are probably sports games.
Sports games.
Sports games.
What is my least favorite genre?
Dude,
Think
I
about
think
them all.
like my least favorite genre is probably like simulators, but I don't want to be like, well, my favorite simulator is like Euro Truck Sim. I have like 50 minutes in it. Like so I'll take maybe a genre that is like not my least favorite, but I don't normally like that much. I'll say like I'm gonna say first-person shooters and RPGs.
Shit! Okay, I'll just say first-person shooters, that's it.
Okay.
Okay. So what's your favorite first-person shooter then?
Well, of all time, I don't really know. But recently, I was just taking this as an opportunity to talk about Rainbow Six Siege, which continues to be a lot of fun, asymmetrical multiplayer in spite of its problems. And the problems are largely related to Uplay, which sucks. But it's made me play more of a AAA first-person shooter than any game since, like, a long time. Like Halo 2, maybe?
There you go,
so... We're way back, like 11 years.
Say Fallout 4, man. Fallout 4 is a first-person
Oh, that's true. That is true. I did play a lot of Fallout 4, actually. But, Titanfall, probably since Titanfall, yeah. But for the most part, I, like, ignore every AAA first-person shooter. But I'll go to bat for Siege. I could see myself playing, like, an hour of Siege a night for, like, 6 months, for sure.
You're just trying to get us back into it.
I'm still
into it.
I'll be right here. That's ET says that.
That's another one I got.
I'm always on at night playing Siege. A little bit too late for the ESP.
Play some
folks.
Warframe, man.
I'm not gonna go back to Warframe probably. So.
All right, Mathas, least favorite your favorite first-person shooter, which is your least favorite.
I will say I like Rainbow Six Siege a lot, but I think my favorite first-person shooter has to be, I put so many hours into it, was Halo 2. Halo 2 was like, back in my heyday, like, I wasn't as good as you were, Bear.
Oh,
but
you're goddamn right you were.
I was like, that was my go home and play game. That, I played a lot of Ghost Recon. I played a lot of multiplayer Ghost Recon
Advanced
on the
Warfare?
original. On the original Xbox.
Oh,
Was that
okay, way back.
Island
Yeah.
Thunder
Yes, Island Thunder. That is actually correct.
or Island
Yes.
Island something.
I always
yeah.
see this one match that I have like a fond memory of. But I played a lot of that, and I played a lot of Halo 2. Those are like the two games I probably put a ton of time into.
Nice. What do we got, Nick?
Well, first of all, I want to just say that I don't see any stats for the new Assassin's Creed Chronicles. I don't think it seems to be up yet.
Okay.
However,
it was
the
released
older
yesterday, so that's to be expected, I guess.
The older one has several thousand people playing it every day, which surprised the shit out of me.
Wow, yeah. That is startling, actually.
Anyway, my least favorite genre is probably sports games. My favorite game within that genre, I'm going to say, is probably WWF Attitude.
Whoa. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Was that the
Who
one
expected
where it's like
that?
it was
not
not
expect
arcade? It was really arcade and cartoonishy.
It was super cartoonish, and it heavily emphasized creative fighter wrestler.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking of a different one. This is like a PS1 era.
PS1 and 64. Yeah, I had it on 64, and I really enjoyed beating the shit out of like Violent J and Shaggy 2 Dope, because you could like
There you
make
go.
the clown makeup properly, and you could make like all manner of ridiculous shit in that game. And
Did you guys ever? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
You could basically just make like superheroes if you wanted, or anything, like just if you want to be a little creative.
Those games
And
have
then
always had amazing
beat the hell out
character
of it.
editors, man. That's always been a staple of it.
I heard they're like super fun.
Yeah.
Have you ever played Legends of WrestleMania? Not Legends of Wrestling, but Legends of WrestleMania, the one that brings back like the WWE cast from like 20 years and then is super arcadey, it's pretty good.
Oh boy. Oh, I've seen this box art actually. It's very eye-catching box art, very gold.
It doesn't play it straight. Like when Macho Man Randy Savage goes up for a flying elbow drop, he goes like 200 feet in the air. I mean,
Then he lights on fire and shoots a laser.
All right. Well, for me, I'm going to go sports games. I originally was just going to say NBA 2K14 because that's the...
which is what I expected.
Yeah. Well, I talk about the embarrassing amount of hours I have in Punch Club. Let's talk about the embarrassing amount of hours I have in NBA 2K14, which I'm pretty sure we've already shamed me for, but it's 232. But when
What do you got in
Nick
Rocket
said...
League?
Rocket League probably is a little more now. I hope it's more because the more I play Rocket League and didn't cross 234 hours, the more I realized how much I was playing NBA 2K14. It was really sad. Okay, Rocket League I've got 353, so that's looking a little better now.
Sensible.
I want to say NFL Blitz now though. Now that Nick got me along the line of thinking, oh yeah, sports games are a little bit more
Things
broad
you
of a
can beat
genre.
the shit out of people in.
Yeah, exactly.
NFL Blitz,
Transcends genre.
like 97.
The old school shit, man. The arcade cabinet one. That's what I'm talking about. Not even bringing it home. I got to go out to kick some ass on the football field.
The 2012 NFL Blitz was actually pretty good.
Yeah?
It was exactly the way they should have released it. It was like an Xbox Live Arcade $15 multiplayer NFL Blitz. But
It's not
there
like
was
the way they released NBA. Like,
exactly NBA
whatever that
Jam
one was.
on
Yeah,
fire.
the $60 fully priced
But
arcade game.
They took out being able to like power bomb people after the play was over, and then you're like, well, that's part of the fun.
Not like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5, am I right?
Oh,
Does that count as a sports game?
Does it? Is that your new favorite?
No, I'm just saying, like, Tony Hawk in general. I played a hell of a lot
Yeah,
more
you
than
can
Attitude.
call like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 and 3, maybe. But then
I'm looking
4 just stops being a sports game. It just
I'm
becomes
looking
a-
at chat, and I did play a metric fuck ton of Fight Night Round 3, actually.
oh, me too.
I
Yeah,
played
me
that
too, actually.
so much.
I
Fight Night
did
was
play that
awesome.
quite a bit.
Oh,
missed
apparently I
that
need to
game.
play Fight Night Round 3. Shit.
It was definitely
3
the
or 4.
best one.
It was really good.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Kirk, for the question. That was a fun one to think about. I'm glad you asked it. So thank you very much, Kirk, for sending that one in. If you have a question you'd like to ask us and have potentially answered on the show, email that to roundtableyt@gmail.com. And finally, time for everybody's favorite segment after their favorite segment. It's Nick's Weird Games. Nick's Weird Games happens every single week. Mathas usually doesn't burp before it happens, but
Mathas.
this
This
time
dude,
it did.
19 hours late, orders a pizza, eats it during the stream, burps into the microphone. It's showing a lot of care about the podcast right now.
Nick's Weird Games every single week. Nick goes to get a weird game from his catalog of very many weird games. We try to guess which one it is based on the cues and hints he gives us. He'll read the description. He'll maybe show us some screenshots, maybe give us a little bit of an inkling of some cleavage. We'll see if he pulls down the shirt a little bit this time. Play along in chat as well if you want to. Twitch.tv/roundtablepodcast is where you're catching it live. Nick, what do you got? Well, first of all, every single week, our good buddy here, Northernlion, likes to... this is his choice that he does entirely of his own volition. He likes to do a little rendition of the Nick's Weird Games theme song for us. So, I don't know, man. What do you...
We gotta pick a Bowie song. Come on.
Oh, we do. That's true. We have to. And I don't want to force you to, give your best rendition. But know that whatever you do, it's in honor of a great man.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. It would be like, bam, ba-dum, it's an Atlas banger. It's an RPG from 2002. It's a redux of Space Invaders.
Nice.
It came out for the PlayStation 2. You've never seen it. You probably know it really sucks. Online, it's $1,400.
I wish.
Yeah, that's good.
That was terrific. All right, good job.
Well done.
Nick, what do we got?
All right, guys, it's time for another round. So, last time we had a winner. We're going to see if we can repeat that. We've got a roughly equally difficult one today, I would say.
Let me hide chat real quick.
Oh, yeah, same.
Yeah.
Nick
I
is
bet chat.
still way ahead in Nick's Weird Game points, by the way. So
we're
we
getting
got...
closer than you
ways
might
to
expect.
go.
I'll add him up. Soon.
Yeah.
So we've got another, PS2, Xbox, PC game this time, but we're
Xbox
looking at the
PC.
PS2. So I'm just giving you the era. It's 2004.
Okay.
It's a survival horror third-person game.
Of course.
You might also mix in some science fiction, I suppose.
Galarians.
No, but I like where your head's
always
at.
say
It's pretty out
Yeah,
there.
you have that pause every time, man.
There is a chance that would have been correct, but it is not today. This is published by PlayLogic, developed by Hydrovision Entertainment, and it features music by Sum 41. I didn't realize that before.
Nice.
That's
So, any guesses so far?
I couldn't tell you now.
Published? Oh, that's a different thing than it says right there. Dreamcatcher Interactive. Oh, okay, it's different platforms at a different publisher. Sure, that makes
looking
sense.
at like super obscure.
How do you mean?
I mean, it's not gonna fall in like the Silent Hills, Resident Evil kind of popularity.
Oh no,
thing.
I'm not going to generally ever give you something that easy, but it's not. It's not
Crash
harder
Bandicoot.
than it was last
Yeah.
last time.
Okay.
All right, so I'll give you some stuff from the back then.
Please do.
What haunts the halls at Leafmore High?
Oh god, the high school game.
Yep. That could be enough right there if you're thinking real hard about it. This next one should do it if that one doesn't.
Was Obscure the high school game?
Yes, that was the answer.
Oh,
Hey, wow, man.
Yes!
Nice. Holy
Mathas
shit.
knows.
I played that game.
Obscure.
Game was
There it is.
All right, well
So
done.
when you asked,
said, is it obscure?
that's where I paused because I was like, so let's not blow the freaking load here. Let's
Yeah,
take
yeah.
a minute. But yeah, this
Nice.
is Obscure. Featuring
Obscure was
music by
not
Sum 41.
terrible. It was bad, but like there are
Oh,
way
the way that
worse
they
games.
glorify the including music from Sum 41, that just totally throws me
Yeah,
off, man. I
it's
look
on
at
the
that
back
box
there.
art and I think, oh, this looks kind of crazy. Music by Sum 41.
Dude, they're pretty
And
heavy.
span.
Yeah, I remember Obscure. I played Obscure. Apparently, the chat saying there's an Obscure 2 that's terrible, which I did not play.
Good, yeah.
There
Dude.
is.
Soundtrack.
Obscure was all right though.
24 tracks written and produced by Oliver de Riviere. Also, there are also 2 tracks that play during the game that are not included on the official soundtrack, and one of them is by Sum 41.
Oh. They couldn't get the licensing to
What
distribute
a
it
ripoff.
afterward.
Including and with music cut from the game by Sum 41.
Literally with one song by Sum 41. What a rip.
Who won in chat here? I'm trying to find
I have
something.
no idea.
Somebody said it.
They
For
had
sure.
to. Yeah.
Yeah.
The first one I see is Mashamino,
Mashamino.
but I may have missed one
Congratulations,
before
Mashamino.
that.
All right.
I think it's you. Congrats.
Well done, Mashamino. And well done,
done,
Mathas.
Mathas.
Yeah, we got
Amino.
another point. Shit, look at us
Give
go.
me those weird horror games from that era. I've played a lot of them. So
Yeah, man.
Yeah, me too.
Rule of Rose was one we talked about before. Galarians, I remember having hugely fond memories of.
Galarians.
Yeah, that was like weird psychic exploding head horror. It was bizarre.
There was a couple of Galarians games, wasn't there?
I think there was 2. Yeah, one for the PS1. I think the second one was PS2.
Messiah.
I could just look over there. I'm pretty sure I have it. Yeah, whatever.
I need you guys to keep talking about old games while I validate my Patreon information real quick.
just change your
I'm
shirt?
marking down that we've got another win actually for you guys. I could add them up actually.
Yo, did Bear just change his shirt? Am I freaking out?
You're
Put on
freaking
a
out.
hoodie.
What?
Yo.
My hoodie might have folded over.
Yo.
Did you see
No,
this
you-
happen?
You
Ryan,
sin.
you have changed universes.
This guy's
You're
a
in
sin.
different
No?
new universe.
Where did that hoodie come from?
That's it.
You-
That's the show. We've done it.
We did it, gentlemen.
Thank you very
On
much.
time.
Yes, exactly on time, as we intended. Thank you all so much for joining us for this episode of Roundtable. If this is your first time here, feel free to follow us here on twitch.tv/roundtablepodcast. You can catch the VOD of this over on any of our 3 YouTube channels, and there's another person here. Twitch.tv/roundtablepodcast is what I just said. Roundtablepodcast.reddit.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, and soon coming to Google Play Music. And we want to thank our Patreon supporters as well for this episode. Patreon.com/roundtable is where you want to go if you want to consider supporting the podcast financially. We want to thank Christopher Flagg, Matt, Air Force Balls, Alexander Spillman, General Crunk, Jonathan Graham, Julian Avelsgaard, Kevin Berkland, David Bradley, Gish Vandervet, Logan Ray Smurfett, Super Monoman, Mediocrities, Myth Scarab, Zur, Symph, Kevin L. Cy Kangaroo
Symph.
Walker, Ignacio0891, Brizzlebrip, Casey, Positron, and Justin. A lot of those names I've been reading for quite some time, so again, I really want to thank you guys.
Almost
for
like
being,
from the beginning.
Yeah, seriously, for being such long-term supporters. Apparently, Brizzlebrip has been supporting us on Patreon since January 1st of 1970, so that's really impressive.
Yeah.
Damn, dog.
That's the only
hell of
one
an
that says
investment.
that on the list. I have no idea what's going on with that, but well done, Brizzlebrip. I appreciate that. 35 years of support, 45 years of support.
Almost.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Roundtable Live. We appreciate your continued support, and we will see you on the show next time.
Definitely on Tuesday.
Goodbye.
Disco mode, disco mode. Oh, it didn't work.